The sages of old knew a secret, a quiet truth that has been buried beneath the noise of our modern world. They taught that the universe does not respond to force, but to surrender. That true power is not found in the clenching of a fist, but in the opening of a hand. What if the greatest, most exhausting battle you are fighting is not against the world, but against the very current that is trying to carry you home? Look closely at the state of your own being, the tension in your jaw, the subtle weight on your shoulders, the mind that spins and calculates, trying to predict and manage every possible outcome. You believe this is control. You believe this vigilance is what keeps your world from collapsing. But what if it is the source of the collapse itself? What if the constant effort to hold everything together is the very thing tearing you apart? This is the great illusion of the master puppeteer, the belief that you are pulling the strings when in fact you are tangled in them, exhausted by a performance for an audience that does not exist. The ache you feel is not the ache of effort, but the ache of resistance. The deep, soul-level fatigue comes from fighting a river that only wants to carry you to the ocean. This journey we are about to embark upon is not about learning a new strategy. It is not about adding another task to your endless list of self-improvements. It is an invitation to lay down your arms. It is an exploration into the profound, transformative art of letting go, not as an act of defeat or resignation, but as an act of supreme courage and wisdom. It is the choice to stop building a dam against the flow of life, and instead to learn to navigate its currents with grace and trust. We will walk a path that dismantles the architecture of fear, piece by piece. We will learn to listen to a guidance that is quieter than thought, and to trust an intelligence that is vaster than our own plans. Prepare to enter a space where you do not need to earn your worth, where you do not need to fight for your peace. A space where you finally understand that when you release your desperate grip on control, you do not fall. You are caught. And that is when the miracles can finally begin. And that miracle begins with the quiet, shattering realization of a simple yet profound truth, a truth your ego has spent a lifetime denying. The truth is, you are not the one directing the play of your life. You believe yourself to be the master puppeteer, perched high above the stage, observing the theater of your existence and pulling the invisible strings to make everything move according to the script you have so carefully written. But this, right here, is the grandest and most exhausting illusion of all. Take a moment, in true stillness, to look upon that stage, the magnificent and chaotic stage of your life. In the center, there is a puppet named career. You have spent years, perhaps decades, writing its script. You want it to move with authority, to climb the ladder of success, to receive standing ovations. You pull the string of relentless effort, of sleepless nights, of stressful meetings. You tug at the string of calculation, of strategically arranged connections. But this puppet seems to have a life of its own. Sometimes it stumbles. Sometimes it stands stubbornly still, no matter how tired your hands have become from trying to pull it upward. Sometimes it even veers off the path you designed, turning down an unmarked alley you had never imagined. And you feel a surge of panic. You pull the strings harder, more desperately, only to find them becoming more tangled, the puppet only growing more rigid and lifeless. The fatigue you feel in your soul does not come from the puppet's refusal to move, but from the relentless, ceaseless act of pulling. Next to it is another puppet, one far more intricate and complex, named love and relationships. Your script for this one is perfect. It must speak the sweetest lines, perform the right gestures of affection at the right times. It must dance with you in a perfect rhythm of harmony and eternal understanding. You pull the strings of expectation, of subtle control, of the desire to be loved in the precise way you have defined it. You try to direct the words, the actions, and even the feelings of the other puppets on your stage. But this puppet is the most defiant of all. It speaks lines that are not in your script. It behaves in ways that cause you pain. Sometimes it even leaves the stage without warning, leaving you standing alone, still clutching a handful of useless strings. You ask yourself why. Why is your devotion met with distance? Why do your efforts to build a perfect structure only seem to create a wall? You do not realize that love is not a puppet to be directed. It is a wild bird. The tighter you grip, the more you suffocate it. The more you try to cage it, the more it yearns to fly away. Your suffering does not come from the other person's changes, but from your own insistence that they play a role that is not them. And then, in the distance of the stage, shrouded in a perpetual mist, is the most terrifying puppet of all, the one named the future. You cannot see its shape clearly, and yet you try to control it with the most frantic energy. You cast thousands of strings of worry towards it, each string a different what-if scenario. What if I fail? What if I am abandoned? What if I get sick? Your hands are cramped from trying to hold on to the strings of certainty, a certainty that never existed in the first place. You spend the majority of your present energy trying to shape a phantom. You are exhausted from fighting enemies that have not appeared, from solving problems that have not occurred. The poor, tired master puppeteer directing a chaotic stage, a play that never follows the script, only to find that emptiness and exhaustion are the sole rewards for this great effort. That exhaustion, that nameless fatigue that seeps into your very bones, the low, simmering hum of anxiety, that is the message. That is the alarm bell your soul is desperately trying to ring in a moment of absolute, crushing exhaustion. When you no longer have the strength to pull another string, you let your hands fall limp and you look up. That is the moment of truth. A truth that is shocking and yet simultaneously liberating. You see, extending from your own shoulders and your own arms, other strings. Strings being pulled taut, leading up into the darkness above the stage. You, the master puppeteer, are also a puppet. One string is named fear. It jerks you back every time you consider stepping out of your comfort zone. It whispers catastrophes into your ear, forcing you to shrink, to control everything in a desperate bid for safety. Another string is named the past. Your unhealed wounds, your unaccepted failures, they dictate your actions in the present. You react to a new situation with the pain of an old memory. You are trying to control the future so that it will not repeat the past. And the thickest, strongest string of all is named societal approval. It is the collection of expectations from family, friends, and the world about who you should be, what you should do, what you must acquire. You have been directing your puppets not according to the script of your own heart, but according to a script written by others. You realize your control is just a chain reaction. You are controlled by fear, so you seek to control life. The more you try to control, the more tense and fearful you become, and the strings from above pull even tighter. It is a feedback loop of suffering, a prison built from your own attempts to be free. The illusion of the master puppeteer is shattered. And this is not a tragedy. This is a release, because for the first time you see the nature of the game. You are not the controller, and you do not have to be. Your job is not to pull the strings. Your job is to become aware of the strings that are pulling you, and with compassion, to gently, lovingly, let them go. What happens when you stop pulling the strings of your puppets? What happens when you allow the career puppet to find its own way? What happens when you let the love puppet be itself, free and authentic? What happens when you stop casting the strings of anxiety towards the misty puppet of the future? The initial silence might feel terrifying, the silence of no longer fighting. But stay with that silence, breathe into it. You will begin to notice something miraculous. The puppets do not collapse into a lifeless heap. They begin to move, gently, gracefully. They begin a dance you have never seen before, a dance not in your script, but one that is exquisitely beautiful and harmonious. The play begins to perform itself, directed by a greater intelligence, a wisdom your controlling ego could never access. This is the first step, to recognize that your hands are clenched around nothing, to see that your profound exhaustion is not a sign of failure, but a sacred invitation, an invitation to let go. Because only when you release your grip on the strings of illusion can you be free to see the true architecture of this prison, an architecture built entirely of fear. As you release your grip on the illusory strings, as the frantic energy of the puppeteer subsides, a rare stillness begins to permeate your mind. And in this quiet space, you have the clarity to see the invisible prison that has confined you for so long. You look closer, and you realize it is not built of brick and mortar. It is constructed from a material far more pervasive and resilient than any stone. Your prison, your fortress, is built from the architecture of fear. Fear is not merely a passing emotion, it is far more sophisticated than that. It is a master architect, a silent craftsman who works in the shadows of your subconscious, using your deepest vulnerabilities and insecurities as its blueprint. It does not build a structure that looks like a prison, it builds a sanctuary, a fortress. It labels the cold, hard walls with comforting names like safety, responsibility, and due diligence. It whispers to you that these walls exist to protect you from the chaotic and dangerous world out there. And you believe it. You have spent your life reinforcing these walls, not realizing that they do not just keep danger out, they keep the light and the vibrancy of life from coming in. Let us walk together and examine the main walls of this great structure. The first and thickest, most formidable wall is the wall of the fear of uncertainty. It is born from the burning desire to know what happens next. Your mind abhors a vacuum, it despises the unknown, and so it works ceaselessly, attempting to map out every possible scenario, to predict every turn in the road. Control, here, is obsessive planning. It is the refusal of all spontaneity. It is the attempt to turn life, a wild and untamable river, into a man-made canal with a pre-programmed flow. You believe that knowing everything will bring you peace, but it never does. It only brings anxiety because the future is, by its very nature, unknowable. This wall, built to defend you against the chaos of life, is the very thing that creates the unending storm inside your mind. You stand behind it, safe from surprises, but you are also safe from miracles. Leaning against it is another wall, one that appears more polished and reasonable. This is the wall of the fear of failure. The inner surface of this wall is smooth and reflective, so you do not realize you are imprisoned. It is the voice of logic, of worldly wisdom. It says, don't try that, you might fail. Just choose the safe path, the one with no risks. Control, here, manifests as procrastination or as perfectionism, which is merely the fear of failure wearing a fancy coat. You will only begin when you are 100% certain of success, and therefore you often never begin at all. You refuse opportunities that might allow you to grow, simply because they come with the possibility of stumbling. This wall promises to protect your fragile ego from embarrassment and inadequacy. But the price is a life half-lived, a potential that is never uncaged. You remain safe in your cocoon, but you will never know the feeling of becoming a butterfly and taking flight. And over there, a strange wall lined with thousands of mirrors. But these mirrors do not reflect your true image. They reflect the judgmental eyes you imagine in others. This is the wall of the fear of judgment. This wall dictates what you wear, what you say, the career you choose, the person you love. Your life ceases to be your own. It becomes a relentless performance, a constant effort to please an invisible audience. Control, here, is the act of perpetual self-monitoring, of wearing countless masks. You become an actor, memorizing someone else's script, speaking lines that are not your own, and slowly forgetting your own face beneath the makeup. This wall promises to bring you acceptance and love, but it only delivers alienation from your most authentic self. You may receive applause, but deep down, you know you are alone. All of these walls are built upon a single, deep and solid foundation. This is the wall of the fear of not being good enough. This is the primal wound. The core belief that there is something fundamentally flawed, lacking, or broken in the very essence of your being. It is because of this belief that you need control. You believe that if you can control your achievements, your appearance, or your status, you can cover up this supposed inner flaw. Control here is the never-ending race for more money, more accolades, more validational in an attempt to fill a hole that cannot be filled from the outside. The harder you strive, the emptier you feel. This wall promises that one day you will finally be enough, but its very nature is what perpetuates the feeling of permanent lack. Now, step back and see the architecture in its entirety, the prison of fear. Inside, the air is stale and stagnant. The sunlight cannot get in, and the fresh air of the present moment is blocked out. The space echoes only with the whispers of what if and if only. It is safe, yes. It is lethally safe. You are safe from the storm, but you also miss the rainbow that follows. You are safe from the wild beasts, but you also miss the symphony of the forest. You are protected from the pain of loss, but you are also denied the joy of true connection. And then, the most important realization of all dawns in the quietness. No one put you in this prison. There is no warden at the gate. The architect was fear, but you were the builder. You mixed the mortar with your own beliefs and diligently laid every single brick of control, day after day. You are the prisoner, and you are also the guard. This is not a moment for self-blame, not at all. This is the moment of ultimate empowerment, because if you were the one who built it, you are also the only one with the power to dismantle it. If the prison was built through unconscious choice, it can be taken down through conscious choice. And you will not dismantle it by taking a sledgehammer to the walls. That would be another act of control, another form of resistance. You will do something far more radical. You will do the one thing this entire architecture was designed to prevent. You will simply open a window. You will gently wipe away the dust of anxiety and allow the light of awareness to stream in. You will take a deep breath of the fresh, clean air of the present moment. You will let life, in all its beautiful chaos, begin to seep through the cracks. And as the light floods in, it illuminates an immense burden you have been carrying on your shoulders, the weight of a future that never arrives. As the window of awareness opens, the light of the present does not only illuminate the walls of fear, it shines upon something else, something you have carried for so long that you have grown accustomed to its weight, considering it an inseparable part of yourself. That light falls upon your stooped shoulders, and for the first time, you clearly see the immense burden you bear. It is the weight of the future, a future that never truly arrives. Imagine yourself as a traveler on the path of life. The path itself sometimes winds through stony passages, other times through fields of fragrant wildflowers. But instead of walking with lightness, able to enjoy the surrounding scenery, your back is bent, dragging along an impossible amount of luggage. You are not just carrying bags for today's journey. You are attempting to carry the luggage for every possible journey for the rest of your life. The heaviest suitcase, made of lead, is labeled potential catastrophe. Inside, it is packed with all the worst-case scenarios. Losing your job, falling ill, being betrayed, ending up alone. You have spent countless hours of energy preparing for these possibilities. You have packed contingency plans, defensive strategies, and worries that never cease. You drag it along every road, its wheels making a tired, scraping sound on the ground, a constant reminder that danger is always lurking. You believe that carrying it will keep you safe, but in reality, it only drains your life force in the present, forcing you to live in a state of constant defense and vigilance, even when the sky is clear and cloudless. Next to it is a large trunk, one that looks luxurious but is equally heavy, labeled mandatory success. This trunk is filled with your expectations and the expectations of society. Degrees, titles, assets, a perfect family. You must constantly stop to polish the items inside, ensuring they remain shiny. You are terrified that if you do not acquire these things, you will be a failure. The weight of this trunk comes not from its own mass, but from the pressure to fill it. It turns your journey into a race, a conquest, instead of an exploration. Joy no longer comes from the path itself, but only from the illusion of one day reaching a destination and opening this trunk to the admiration of others. You do not realize that the very act of dragging this trunk is what causes you to miss all the small, authentic treasures scattered along the way. And then there are the countless smaller bags whose combined weight is truly crushing. These are the bags of potential regret. Each bag is a choice you did not make, a path you did not take. What if I had taken that other job? What if I had been brave enough to speak my heart? What if I had moved to a different city? You carry the ghosts of other lives, other versions of yourself, for fear that you have missed out on something better. This burden makes it impossible to fully inhabit the life you are actually living. You are always comparing, always doubting, always looking over your shoulder at the forks in the road behind you, instead of looking at the path opening up before you. All of this luggage has one thing in common. It is not real. It is a product of the mind. The future is not a physical place you are traveling to. It is only a concept, a collection of thoughts and images you are generating in this very moment. You are exhausting yourself, wrestling with phantoms. You are sweating and crying over burdens made from the material of thought alone. Your fatigue is real, but its cause is an illusion. The act of control, here, is the ceaseless sorting, checking, and repacking of this luggage. Your mind becomes a warehouse manager that never sleeps, constantly running back and forth, taking inventory of risks, polishing expectations, and labeling regrets. You believe this work is essential. You believe that if you neglect it for a second, everything will fall apart. But the truth is, this relentless management is what is causing everything to fall apart from within. The price for carrying the weight of the future is devastatingly high. The first and greatest price is your presence. You cannot truly be here. While you are eating a meal, your mind is worrying about tomorrow's meeting. While you are speaking with a loved one, your mind is calculating next month's bills. You are here in body, but your soul has drifted off to a time that does not exist. You look but do not see. You hear but do not listen. You touch but do not feel. You are missing your own life, one moment at a time. The second price is joy. Spontaneous joy, the simple delight of being alive, cannot blossom in a mind obsessed with prevention and calculation. Joy is like a butterfly. It lands only on a flower that is still in the sunlight. It cannot visit someone who is busy hauling luggage under the storm clouds of anxiety. And the third price is wisdom. Within you is an inner compass, a quiet guidance system known as intuition. It speaks only in the stillness of the present. When your mind is constantly broadcasting the noise of the future, you cannot hear its whispers. You trade inner wisdom for manufactured worry. So now, right here on your path, I invite you to do something simple yet radical. Stop, take a deep breath, and try setting one of those suitcases down. Just one. Perhaps the suitcase of worries for next week. Be conscious of the action. Imagine your fingers, so tightly clenched around the handle, slowly uncurling. You place it on the side of the road, and just feel Feel the immediate lightness in your shoulders. Feel the new space that has been created. You are not abandoning it forever. You are simply choosing not to carry it right now. You are realizing you can walk without it. This is not a call for irresponsibility. Planning is a useful tool, performed in the present to give direction for the future. But carrying the future is a burden, a prison that locks you out of the present. A plan is a map you glance at occasionally. A burden is a rock you tie to your ankle. As you bravely set that weight down, you feel a strange sense of freedom and relief. But then, very quickly, a familiar voice may cry out from within, a voice filled with panic and anger. Pick that up. That's irresponsible. Without that preparation, we won't be safe. Without those goals, who are we? Without this burden, how will we survive? That voice, the faithful guardian of the baggage, the jailer who does not want you to be free, that voice has a name. And to be truly liberated, we must look it directly in the face. That voice is the ego. That voice, that familiar, panicked and authoritative tone, the one that screamed at you when you dared to set down the baggage of the future. It is the primary echo from the echo chamber of the ego. Now, do something radical. Instead of fighting with it, instead of trying to suppress it, just listen to it. Observe it with the detached curiosity of a scientist observing a phenomenon, because the ego, the sense of a separate self, is not your enemy. To mistake it for an enemy is one of its most subtle and persistent traps. The ego is not who you are. It is a structure, a mental construct. It is a collection of thoughts, memories, beliefs, social roles, and the stories you tell yourself about yourself. I am successful. I am a failure. I am a good parent. I am not smart enough. All of these labels, these identities, they are not you. They are the clothes the ego wears to define itself. The ego is an entity created for survival in the physical world, a self-image that needs to be protected and reinforced constantly. And to survive, the ego requires two things: separation and problems. It needs to feel separate from others, me here and them over there. Comparison, judgment, jealousy, pride, all are tools the ego uses to solidify its own boundaries. More importantly, the ego needs problems to solve. A peaceful present moment with nothing to worry about, nothing to strive for, is a mortal threat to the ego's existence. Because if there is no problem, what is its role? If there is nothing to control, how can it feel important? Therefore, if no problem exists, the ego will create one. It will dredge up a regret from the past. It will project an anxiety onto the future. It will turn a careless word into a personal insult. It is always seeking something wrong so that it can jump in and fix it. Imagine the ego as a tiny king ruling over a non-existent kingdom. That kingdom is your mind. This king is deeply insecure and terrified of being forgotten. His entire sense of worth comes from being in charge, from issuing commands. So, he shouts constantly, "You must control your finances. You must worry about your health. You must prove you are better than that colleague. You must plan the perfect vacation for next year." He creates endless emergencies, complex laws, and war scenarios within the kingdom of the mind, just to feel busy, necessary, and real. And the royal scepter that this king loves most, the weapon he never lets out of his hand, is control. Every time you attempt to control someone, a situation, or your own emotions, it is the little king brandishing his scepter with pride. "I am managing this," he proclaims. "Everything is under my command." Your need for control is directly proportional to the ego's insecurity. An ego that feels deeply small and worthless will become a micromanagerial tyrant, attempting to direct every last detail of life. It believes this tight grip is a sign of strength, but in truth, it is only a sign of absolute terror. And the thing this little king fears more than anything else in the world, the act he considers high treason in his kingdom, is surrender. Letting go, allowing. To the ego, letting go of control is synonymous with death. When you intend to let go, it will scream in your mind with the most frightening words imaginable. Don't. If you let go, everything will collapse. Chaos will reign. You will fail. You will be a nobody. You will disappear. This is the core fear that everyone on the path of awakening must eventually face. The fear of ego, death. But here is the truth that the little king never wants you to know. The you that dies when you let go is not the real you. You, the awareness, the consciousness, the life that is having this experience, you cannot die. What dies is only the false self-image, the fearful and limited mental structure. What dies are the roles, the labels, the stories. It is not an annihilation, it is a liberation. It is like an actor finally being allowed to remove a heavy costume and a suffocating mask after a long and exhausting play. So, what do you do about this insecure, tyrannical king? The answer is not to declare war. A war against the ego only makes it stronger. It loves a good fight. A fight is a big problem, and it loves big problems. The more you resist it, the more reason it has to exist and to scream louder. The solution is far more elegant and effective. It is a peaceful abdication. You do not need to overthrow the king. You simply need to stop believing he is king. You begin to observe his commands, his tantrums, his fears with a gentle detachment, perhaps even a sense of humor. You see him not as a terrifying ruler, but as a frightened child acting out to get attention. You no longer identify with him. You realize that you are not the little king running around frantically on the stage. You are the vast, silent space of the entire theater in which the king's drama is playing out. You are the silence that contains all the noise. When you realize this, you have quietly reclaimed your power. You no longer obey his commands unconsciously. When he screams, "Worry about tomorrow," you simply observe that thought arise and pass away without getting swept up in it. When he orders, "You must prove yourself," you smile and recognize it as his insecurity speaking. Gradually, as the king's commands are no longer followed, his voice begins to fade. The echo chamber of the ego loses its resonance. The chaos in the mental kingdom begins to settle, and for the first time, you can hear something else. When the little king stops screaming, when the ego's echo chamber falls silent, you begin to feel something else. A flow. A great and wise energy that has always been there, but was obscured by the noisy commands. You realize that life is not a chaotic kingdom to be ruled by an iron will. It is more like a mighty, flowing river. And the ego's entire effort all along, all the control, all the worry, all the calculation, has been nothing other than the building of a great dam, made from the stones of fear, in an attempt to stop that river from flowing. Life is not a kingdom to be ruled. It is a river, a vast, powerful, and untamable river. It has its own source, its own direction, its own inscrutable intelligence. It was flowing long before you arrived on its banks, and it will continue to flow long after you are gone. And the entire project of the ego, the sum of all your efforts to control, all your worries and plans, has been a single, monumental, and ultimately futile task: to build a dam across this river. Look at the structure you have built. Its foundations are your deepest held beliefs about how life should be. Each stone is a rigid expectation, a non-negotiable demand you place upon reality. The mortar that holds these stones together is your fear, fear of the unknown, fear of being carried into unfamiliar waters. Every worry you have ever entertained is another rock added to the wall. Every time you tried to force an outcome, to bend a person or a situation to your will, you were adding another layer of concrete. You did this with the best of intentions, the ego's intention, to create safety, predictability, and permanence in a world that is, by its very nature, fluid, unpredictable, and ever-changing. Your dam is a monument to your struggle against the very nature of reality. For a time, it may seem to work. You create a small, placid reservoir of predictability. Your life feels managed, contained. You can see the edges of your reality, and it feels safe. But the river does not stop flowing simply because you have built a wall. Life does not cease its forward momentum because you demand it to. The water begins to rise. The immense, patient, and relentless pressure of the life force builds up behind your structure of control. This pressure is the anxiety you feel. It is the tension in your body, the stress that keeps you awake at night. It is that constant, low-grade feeling that you are under siege, that you must remain ever vigilant. The more life pushes to move forward, to grow, to evolve, the more frantically the ego works to reinforce the dam. You add more worries, build the walls higher with new plans and more rigid expectations. You are caught in a cycle of escalating resistance. You push against life, and life, in its neutral and implacable way, simply continues to be itself, gathering its immense strength behind the dam. You are not fighting an enemy, you are fighting the nature of existence itself. And that is a battle you can never win. Eventually, something must give. The pressure becomes too great, and the first fine cracks begin to appear. These cracks are the moments of crisis in your life. It could be a sudden illness, the loss of a job, the end of a relationship, a period of deep depression or burnout. From the perspective of the dam builder, the ego, these are catastrophic failures. They are proof that the walls were not strong enough, that you did not control things well enough. But from a higher perspective, they are moments of grace. They are the first signs that the life force is breaking through your resistance, that the river is reclaiming its natural course. The ego panics. It rushes to patch the cracks with more control, more worry, more desperate activity. But the pressure is too great. The cracks widen into fissures, and then, with a great and thunderous roar that shakes your entire being, the dam breaks. The carefully constructed reality you fought so hard to maintain is swept away by the flood. This moment of breaking down, which the ego fears above all else, is not the end. It is a homecoming. It is the moment the river of your life is finally allowed to flow freely again. But there is another way. You do not have to wait for the dam to break. You do not have to live under constant, escalating pressure until a crisis forces you to change. You can make a conscious choice to shift your entire orientation to life. You can choose to stop being a dam builder and start becoming a boat builder and a skilled navigator. This is the art of living in surrender. It is not passive, it is profoundly active and engaged. Building a boat requires skill, presence, and wisdom. Your boat is your state of being. It is your resilience, your capacity for presence, your core of inner peace. It must be built to be sturdy, yet flexible enough to move with the currents. The rudder of your boat is your intention. You do not control the river, but you can set a direction. With a gentle touch on the rudder, you can navigate the currents, steering toward experiences of love, growth, and contribution, while skillfully avoiding the rocks and whirlpools of negativity and fear. The sails of your boat represent your capacity for allowance and trust. When you hoist the sails, you are no longer relying solely on your own paddling. You are allowing the winds of grace, of synchronicity, of a higher intelligence to carry you forward. You learn to work with the unseen forces that are always there to support you, forces that were invisible when you were hiding behind your dam. And you, the real you, the silent, aware consciousness within, you are the navigator. The navigator does not curse the river for its rapids or its bends. The navigator respects the river. They study its currents, they feel its power, and they trust its ultimate destination. The navigator knows when to paddle with effort, when to steer with intention, and when to simply pull up the oars, hoist the sails, and allow the current to carry the boat through a stretch of calm water. This is a life of co-creation, a dance between your effort and life's flow. It is a life of adventure and discovery, rather than a life of defense and fear. You are no longer fighting the river, you are a part of it. You feel its immense power, not as a threat, but as your own power. But for many of us, the shift from dam builder to boat builder does not happen by choice on a sunny afternoon. We are too identified with our role as the anxious architect, too convinced of the importance of our walls. We often only begin to look for a different way when we feel the first tremors run through our structure, when we see those fine hairline cracks appear in the concrete of our control. That moment of initial breaking is not a curse. It is the first ray of light breaking through the stone. It is life's fierce and loving grace calling you back to the water. When the pressure of the river becomes too great for the structure of your dam, the first cracks begin to appear. They may be small at first, fine as a spider's thread, but you feel them. You feel them as a tremor in the very foundation of your being. This is the moment of crisis. The burnout that leaves you hollowed out and empty. The heartbreak that shatters your world into a million pieces. The diagnosis that brings your mortality into sharp focus. The dark night of the soul, where all meaning seems to drain from your life. From the perspective of the ego, the dam builder, this is the ultimate failure. It is a catastrophe. The voice of the inner king screams in terror and shame. You failed. You weren't strong enough. You didn't plan well enough. You let this happen. Society echoes this sentiment, treating breakdown as a disease to be cured as quickly as possible, a sign of weakness to be hidden away. We are taught to patch the cracks immediately, to spackle over the pain with platitudes, to distract ourselves from the rubble and get back to the business of building. But I am here to offer you a different perspective, a truth that your soul already knows. This breaking down is not a failure. It is not a sign of your weakness. It is, in fact, a testament to the unstoppable power of the life force that moves through you. It is not that you were too weak. It is that life was too strong. The river simply became too powerful for any man-made structure to contain it. The crack is not a flaw in your character. It is the triumphant return of authenticity. It is an act of grace. Think of it like a fever. When the body is invaded by an infection, it raises its temperature. The fever feels terrible. It brings aches, chills, and profound discomfort. But the fever is not the disease. The fever is the body's healing response. It is the body intelligently creating a hostile environment for the invading pathogens, burning away what does not belong. A spiritual crisis is a fever of the soul. When your life has been infiltrated by the false beliefs of the ego, by the rigid structures of fear, by a way of being that is not authentic to your true nature, the soul raises the temperature. The heat is the pain, the chaos, the confusion of your breakdown. It feels terrible, but it is the process of purification. It is the sacred fire burning away the illusions, the attachments, and the identities that have kept you small and imprisoned behind your own dam. The pain is not the sickness, it is the first symptom of the cure. This breaking down can take many forms, but each is a variation on the same theme, life demanding to be lived more fully. Consider burnout. It is not just ordinary tiredness, it is a spiritual exhaustion. It is the depleted state that occurs when your soul refuses to continue powering a life that is out of alignment. The puppet master has pulled the strings for so long, trying to make the puppets of career and responsibility perform, that the very energy source has been cut off. The machinery of the dam grinds to a halt, not because it is broken, but because the life force that was being siphoned to maintain it has been withdrawn. It is your deepest self saying, "No more. I will not spend one more drop of my precious energy maintaining this false structure." Consider heartbreak. The loss of a deep love feels like a demolition, Life has taken a wrecking ball to a major section of your dam, and the grief that pours through is immense. The ego screams that you have lost a part of yourself. But what has truly been lost is the illusion that you could control another person, the illusion that your happiness could be permanently secured by an external source. The gaping hole left in the wall of your life is terrifying, but it is also through that very hole that a new light, a new understanding, and a new, more resilient form of love can eventually enter. The wound becomes a doorway. Consider illness. The body is the ultimate truth teller. It does not lie. When we ignore the whispers of our soul, when we silence the discontent of our hearts, the body often begins to scream. A chronic illness or a sudden diagnosis can be a forced full stop. It is a demand from the deepest part of your being to re-evaluate everything, to stop pushing, to stop striving, to stop citing the current. It physically removes your ability to keep reinforcing the dam, forcing you into a state of surrender you would never have chosen for yourself. The body, in its profound wisdom, sometimes has to break down to save you from a life that is breaking your spirit. And consider the states of anxiety and depression. These are often the direct felt sense of the water pressure building behind the dam. Anxiety is the feeling of the walls trembling, the frantic energy of the ego trying to spot and patch a million tiny leaks at once. Depression, in many cases, can be the feeling of drowning in the stagnant water that has pooled behind your own walls. The life force is not flowing, and so it becomes murky, heavy, and lifeless. It is the profound and painful recognition that the dam, the entire project of control, is not working. The structure is failing, and the feeling is one of hopeless inundation. In all these cases, the ego's narrative is one of victimhood and failure, but the soul's narrative is one of germination. Think of a seed. A seed is a perfect, self-contained unit. Its hard outer shell protects the precious life potential within it. For as long as that shell remains intact, the seed is safe. But it is also dormant. It is a life unlived, a potential unrealized. For the sprout to emerge, for the life within to reach for the sun and dig its roots into the earth, the shell must break. This breaking is not a gentle process, it is a shattering. From the perspective of the shell, it is a death. The known, safe, contained world is destroyed. You are that seed. Your ego, your personality, your carefully constructed dam, that is the shell. It has served a purpose. It has protected you. But the time for safety is over. The life force within you, your true self, is yearning to grow. It is pushing from the inside out. Your breakdown is the breaking of your shell. The pain, the chaos, the feeling of being torn apart, that is the pain of germination. You are not dying. You are finally being born. So what does one do when the cracks appear? What is the wise response to this sacred act of breaking down? The first and most crucial step is to resist the frantic urge to patch the crack. The ego, the inner engineer, will rush in with its tools. It will try to plaster over the pain with denial. It will try to fill the void with new distractions, a new relationship, a new project, a new addiction. It will try to reinforce the remaining walls with even more rigid control, more obsessive thinking. You must, with all the compassionate awareness you can muster, refuse to play this game. To try and fix the breakdown is to resist the breakthrough. To patch the crack is to reject the grace that is being offered. The second step is to learn the profound art of being with. You do not need to understand the crisis. You do not need to analyze it, label it, or even have a story about it. Your task is simply to be present to it, to sit with the rubble, to feel the pain without needing it to go away, to allow the confusion without demanding an answer, to hold your own fear and grief with the same unconditional tenderness you would offer to a frightened child. This is an act of supreme courage and surrender. You are creating a safe space for your own transformation, You are honoring the fever, trusting that it is a healing fire, even as it burns. When you can be still enough, you will begin to notice something. You will hear the sound of the water as it trickles through the new opening. That water is life itself, and it carries wisdom. The pain, the grief, the anger, these are not just random emotions, they are messengers. They are carrying suppressed information from the parts of yourself you have denied or ignored. Your breakdown is a profound opportunity to listen. What is your pain trying to tell you? What part of your life has been crying out for attention? What truth have you been refusing to see? In the breaking, you become a student of your own life in a way that was never possible when the dam was fully intact. This is not a quick fix. The process of germination is not instantaneous. The journey through the dark night of the soul takes its own time. But your willingness to see this crisis not as a curse, but as a severe mercy, changes everything. You stop being a victim of your life and become a humble participant in your own unfolding. You stop fighting the river and begin the process of learning its language. The moment of breaking is not the end of the journey. It is the doorway. It is the initiation. It is the violent, painful, and absolutely necessary shattering that must occur before a truer, more resilient, and more authentic life can emerge. To be willing to sit with the rubble of your broken dam, to not run away, to not immediately start rebuilding the same old structure. This is the next courageous act, to find the stillness in the heart of the storm, to discover the sacred pause, to sit with the rubble of your broken dam, to not run away, to not immediately begin rebuilding. This is the sacred pause. But what does it mean to truly pause? In a world that glorifies action, that fetishizes progress, that demands you fix, solve, and overcome, the simple act of stopping is the ultimate rebellion. It is the most radical and courageous thing you can do. This pause is not an act of passivity or resignation. It is not weakness. It is an act of profound, reclaimed power. It is the first moment you cease to be a frantic reactor to the events of your life and begin to become a quiet observer of them. For your entire life, you have been conditioned to believe that when a storm hits, you must do something. You must fight the waves, patch the leaks, steer against the wind. The sacred pause is the recognition that the storm is not outside of you, it is within you. The hurricane is the vortex of your own thoughts. The torrential rain is the downpour of your own emotions. The crashing waves are the chaotic sensations in your body, and you cannot fight an inner storm with more inner action. To fight thought with thought is to add wind to the hurricane. So you stop. You consciously and deliberately withdraw your energy from the struggle. You lay down the oars. You let go of the rudder. You simply allow the storm to be. This choice is the dawn of a new kind of freedom. But how do you keep from being swept away? When the winds of fear are howling and the waves of grief are crashing over the deck, how do you not capsize? You find an anchor. You cannot stop the storm, but you can anchor your vessel so that you are not carried away by it. That anchor, the most reliable and ever-present anchor you will ever have, is your breath. Your breath is the bridge between the seen and the unseen, the conscious and the unconscious. It is the rhythm of life itself moving through you. It is always here, always in the present moment. Your thoughts may be lost in the wreckage of the past or spiraling into the anxieties of the future, but your breath is only ever happening right now. And in the now, there is peace. In the now, there is stillness. So I invite you right now to find your anchor. You do not need to be in a special place or a special posture. Wherever you are, simply bring your awareness to the sensation of your own breathing. Do not try to change it. Do not judge it as shallow or deep, fast or slow. Let it be exactly as it is. Your only task is to observe it, to feel it. Feel the subtle coolness of the air as it enters your nostrils. Follow its path down your throat, into your chest, into your lungs. Feel the gentle expansion of your ribcage, the soft rising of your belly, and then feel the release as the breath flows out again. Feel your belly fall, your chest soften. Notice the brief moment of stillness at the end of the exhalation before the next inhalation begins. This simple physical sensation is your tether to reality. It is your anchor in the heart of the storm. When a wave of panic crashes over you, you return your attention to the feeling of your breath. When the winds of catastrophic thought begin to howl, you gently guide your awareness back to the sensation of your belly rising and falling. You do this not once, but 100 times, 1,000 times. Every time you guide your attention back to the breath, you are performing an act of profound self-love and liberation. You are taking your energy back from the storm. You are choosing the anchor of the present moment over the chaos of the mind. You are not fighting your thoughts. You are not suppressing your emotions. That would be resistance, another form of building a dam. You are simply choosing not to feed them with your attention. The storm may continue to rage. The thoughts may continue to swirl. The emotions may continue to surge. But something fundamental has changed. You are no longer lost in the storm. You are anchored within it. From this anchored place, a new perception begins to dawn. You start to realize a profound truth. The storm clouds of thought and the crashing waves of emotion are passing through you, but they are not you. You are the sky through which the clouds pass. You are the deep ocean that holds the storm on its surface. The sky is not harmed by the darkest cloud. The ocean is not diminished by the fiercest wave. Your true nature, this silent, aware consciousness, is untouched by the turmoil it perceives. This is the great shift in identity that the sacred pause facilitates. You stop identifying with the content of your mind and begin to identify with the context that holds it all, the awareness itself. You are not your grief. You are the loving space that is holding the grief. You are not your anxiety. You are the calm presence that is witnessing the anxiety. In the stillness of this pause, anchored by the breath, you may begin to notice something else. You may notice tiny gaps between your thoughts. For a fraction of a second, the inner commentary stops. In that gap, there is no fear, no story, no problem. There is only a silent, peaceful awareness. This space was always here, but it was completely obscured by the incessant noise of the mind. The sacred pause does not create this peace. It simply allows you to notice the peace that has been your true nature all along. You begin to understand that you do not need to create peace. You only need to stop creating the noise. You do not need to find a solution. You only need to stop being identified with the problem. The power of the sacred pause is that it short-circuits the ego's entire mode of operation. The ego thrives on doing, on solving, on controlling. Stillness is its kryptonite. In the silent space of the pause, the tiny king has no one to issue orders to, and his voice begins to fade. From this stillness, a new kind of clarity emerges. It is not the sharp, analytical clarity of a 5-step plan created by the ego. It is a much softer, more intuitive knowing. A gentle sense of the next right step, or the wisdom to know that the next right step is to do nothing at all. When the shouting of the mind subsides, you begin to hear a deeper, quieter intelligence. This wisdom does not speak in the language of words and concepts. It speaks in the language of sensation, of feeling, of intuition. It speaks through the very cells of your being. And as you learn to listen, you begin to realize that your body is not just a vehicle to be managed and controlled. It is a living, breathing compass, constantly pointing you toward your truth. When the roaring of the mind subsides, even for a moment, you begin to hear a deeper, quieter wisdom. This wisdom does not speak in the language of words and concepts. It communicates in a language far older and more truthful, the language of sensation. It speaks through the very cells of your being, and as you learn to listen, you realize that your body is not just a vehicle to be disciplined and managed. It is not a cage for your consciousness. It is a living, breathing compass, constantly and unfailingly pointing you toward your truth. For most of your life, you have lived from the neck up. You have treated your body like a machine that carries your head around a machine to be fueled with coffee, pushed through exhaustion, criticized in the mirror, and numbed when it dares to signal pain or discomfort. You have identified yourself completely with the thinking mind, that chattering narrator in your skull. But your mind, for all its cleverness, is a profoundly unreliable narrator. It is a master storyteller, a brilliant rationalizer, a weaver of intricate illusions. It is swayed by the winds of fear, colored by the traumas of the past, and programmed by the conditioning of your upbringing. Your mind can convince you that a toxic situation is safe, that an unhealthy desire is love, that a self-destructive path is logical. Your mind is an old, crumpled map, drawn by others and stained with the errors of history. Your body, however, cannot lie. The body is the living vessel of your subconscious. It is the storehouse of every experience you have ever had, every emotion you have ever felt, both the ones you have processed and, more importantly, the ones you have suppressed. The unspoken grief, the unexpressed anger, the secret joys, the deep-seated fears, they do not simply vanish when your conscious mind moves on. They are held in your tissues. They live in the tension of your shoulders, the knot in your stomach, the ache in your heart. Your body is a living archive of your truth, and it speaks to you constantly through the language of physical sensation. Your task is not to learn a new language, but to remember one you have long forgotten. Let us decode some of this language. Begin with your gut. Science now speaks of the gut-brain axis, recognizing that the complex neural network in your digestive system acts as a second brain. But ancient wisdom has always known this. That feeling of a knot in your stomach when you are about to make a wrong decision, that subtle wave of nausea when you are in the presence of someone inauthentic, that deep, visceral clenching when your integrity is compromised, that is not a random physical symptom. That is your compass, giving you a clear and powerful reading. It is a primal, intuitive no. Conversely, a feeling of warmth, relaxation, and settledness in your gut is a profound yes. Your mind can be fooled. Your gut cannot. Move up to your heart center. When you consider a path that is truly aligned with your soul's purpose, you may feel a sense of expansion in your chest, a warmth, an openness, as if something is blossoming. When you connect with someone from a place of genuine love, your heart feels light and full. But when you are forcing something that is not right for you, or when you are betraying your own heart, you feel a constriction, a heaviness, a physical ache. This is not poetry, it is physiology. This is your compass of connection and purpose, telling you whether you are moving toward life or away from it. Consider your throat. Have you ever felt a lump in your throat when there was a difficult truth you needed to speak? That is your body signaling that unspoken words are creating a blockage. Have you felt a tightness, a choking sensation when you have silenced your own voice to please others? That is your compass of authentic expression, warning you that you are cutting yourself off from your own power. And look at the chronic tension you hold, the shoulders that creep up toward your ears as if you are perpetually bracing for an impact. This is the physical manifestation of carrying the weight of the future, the heavy luggage we spoke of earlier, the clenched jaw, the grinding teeth at night. This is the body's expression of the ego's desperate need to clamp down, to control life. Your body is screaming at you, day and night, to let go. To hear this wisdom, you must learn to shift your awareness. You must practice the art of embodiment, of moving your center of consciousness from your head down into your body. This is not about thinking about your body. It is about feeling into it directly. Let us try a simple practice. You can do this sitting, standing, or lying down. Close your eyes if you feel comfortable. Take a slow, gentle breath. Now, bring your full attention to the soles of your feet. Simply feel whatever is there to be felt. The pressure against the floor, the texture of your socks, the temperature. Do not judge it. Just notice it. You are bringing your consciousness home to your body. Now, slowly, like a warm, gentle light, begin to scan your awareness up through your body. Feel your ankles, your calves, your knees, your thighs. Just feel. You are not looking for anything wrong. You are not trying to fix anything. You are simply listening. Bring your awareness up through your pelvis, your abdomen, your lower back. Notice the subtle sensations of your organs, the rising and falling of your belly with your breath. Scan your awareness up through your chest, your heart, your shoulders. Feel the weight of your arms, your hands. Move your attention up your neck, your jaw, your face, and finally, the crown of your head. You have just completed a journey home. Practice this body scan daily. It is a meditation of embodiment. The more you do it, the more you will sensitize yourself to the subtle language of your compass. Then, you can begin to use it in your daily life. When you are faced with a decision, big or small, go beyond the pros and cons list in your head. Pause. Take a breath. Bring the choice into your body. First, imagine you say yes. Then, immediately drop your awareness into your body. What happens? Is there a sense of expansion, lightness, and peace? Or is there a subtle clenching, a tightening, a feeling of dread in your gut? Then, imagine you say no. Drop into your body again. What is the response? Often, the body's answer is immediate and clear, while the mind could debate for weeks. Inhabiting your body is the most powerful way to anchor yourself in the present moment. Your mind can travel to the past or the future, but your body can only ever be here, now. The feeling of your breath, the beat of your heart, the sensation of your feet on the ground, these are all portals to the power of now. By choosing to live in your body, you are choosing to live in reality, not in the fiction created by your mind. As you become more embodied, as you learn to trust your body as your primary home and your truest compass, you gain a new, stable vantage point. You are no longer a leaf tossed about in the winds of your thoughts. You are a great tree, rooted deep in the earth of your own physical being. From this grounded place, you can begin to observe the antics of the mind with a new sense of detachment and wisdom. You can finally learn the art of watching your thoughts without becoming them, of seeing the mind not as who you are, but as a tool that you can learn to use, rather than be used by. From the grounded, stable vantage point of your own embodied presence, you can now turn your attention to the source of so much of your struggle, the mind. Not to fight it, not to fix it, but simply to observe it. This is the art of observation, and it is the key that unlocks the door to a freedom you may have never thought possible. From the moment you awaken in the morning until the moment you fall asleep at night, a voice is speaking in your head. It is an incessant inner narrator, commenting, speculating, judging, worrying, remembering, and planning. It is the voice that replays yesterday's mistakes and rehearses tomorrow's conversations. It is the voice that tells you who you are, what you are worth, and what others think of you. For most of us, for most of our lives, this voice is not a voice, it is our voice. We do not hear the thoughts. We believe we are the thoughts. This is the most profound and invisible prison of all. The prison of identification with the mind. When the thought, "I am not good enough," arises, you do not perceive it as a transient electrical impulse in your brain. You experience it as a fundamental truth of your being. When the thought, "This situation is terrible," appears, you do not see it as a subjective interpretation. You experience it as an objective reality. This unquestioning belief in the stream of thought is the root cause of almost all human suffering. The thought itself is harmless, like a line of code on a screen. It is your identification with it, your belief that it is you, that gives it power. It is this identification that makes you the puppet and the compulsive, conditioned mind the master. The great discovery, the quantum leap in consciousness that has been spoken of by mystics and sages throughout history, occurs in the moment you first create a space between you and your mind. It is the moment you step back and witness a thought rather than being consumed by it. Let us try it now. A thought is likely present in your mind at this very moment. It might be a thought about these words, a thought about what you need to do later, or a memory from the past. Can you, right now, be aware that you are thinking? Can you notice the thought as an object, an event happening within your field of awareness? If you are aware of the thought, then who are you? If you are the one who is noticing the thought, then you cannot be the thought itself. There must be two, the thought which is being observed and the one who is observing. Who is this silent one who is aware? This is the most important question you can ever ask yourself. This one who is aware is the witness. It is the silent, observing consciousness that lies behind the screen of the mind. Discovering this witness within you is like a person who has been watching a movie their entire life, suddenly realizing they are not the character on the screen, but the empty space of the theater in which the movie is playing. It does not stop the movie, but it fundamentally changes your relationship to it. You are no longer lost in the drama, you are free. To deepen this understanding, let us use a powerful metaphor. Imagine that your thoughts are clouds in the sky. All day long, clouds drift by. Some are dark and heavy storm clouds. These are your anxious, fearful, or angry thoughts. Some are light, white, puffy clouds. These are your happy, pleasant, or loving thoughts. Some are just a dull, grey, overcast, hazy. These are your boring, repetitive background thoughts. The clouds are constantly changing, constantly moving, constantly appearing and disappearing. For your whole life, you have believed that you were one of these clouds. When a dark storm cloud appeared, you became the storm. You felt its turbulence and its darkness as your very identity. When a beautiful, puffy white cloud appeared, you clung to it, trying to make it stay, and then you suffered when it inevitably drifted away and was replaced by something else. You were at the mercy of the weather of your mind. The art of observation is the realization that you are not the clouds. You are the sky. You are the vast, open, silent and luminous space in which all the clouds of thought and emotion appear, move through and dissolve. The sky does not fight the storm clouds. It does not cling to the beautiful clouds. It does not resent the grey, boring clouds. The sky allows all clouds to be exactly as they are, because it knows, with a deep, silent knowing, that it is not them. The nature of the sky is changeless, spacious, and peaceful, regardless of the weather of the moment. The darkest storm cannot stain the sky. The most violent hurricane cannot tear the sky. This is your true nature. When a negative thought cloud like "I will never succeed" drifts into your awareness, you no longer have to believe it. You no longer have to become it. You can simply notice it. Ah, there is the thought. I will never succeed. It is a dark, heavy cloud. You watch it with a detached curiosity. You feel the emotional charge it carries without becoming the emotion. You observe it as it drifts through the vast sky of your awareness, and you will discover a miraculous thing. A thought cloud that is met with the open, non-resistant space of your awareness, a thought that is not fed by your belief or your resistance, will lose its power. It will begin to thin, to become transparent, and eventually it will dissolve back into the emptiness from which it came. This practice requires diligence, but it is a gentle diligence. Every time you find yourself lost in a storm, you simply, gently recognize what is happening. I am lost in the clouds again. And then you remember your true nature. I am the sky. You shift your identification back to the silent, observing presence. You become the space for the storm, rather than being the storm itself. The freedom that this practice brings is immeasurable. You begin to understand that pain and suffering are two different things. Pain is a raw, unavoidable sensory experience, like the physical sensation of heat from a fire. Suffering is the layer of mental story and resistance that you add on top of the pain. Suffering is what happens when the mind creates a thought like, "This pain is terrible. It should not be happening. It will never end." And you believe that thought completely. When you learn to be the sky for the raw sensation of pain, without believing the mind's story about it, the suffering dissolves. The pain may still be there, but the mental anguish, the resistance, is gone. You can be with the pain and yet be at peace. When you are the sky and not the cloud, the mind is no longer your master. It becomes your servant. It ceases to be a source of constant torment and transforms into the magnificent tool it was always meant to be. But to use this tool wisely, to use it to create a life of grace and meaning, you must learn a new way of creating. You must learn to use the mind to set a clear intention, to plant a seed, and then to let go of the obsessive, ego-driven need to control exactly how that seed will grow. Now that you are the sky and not the cloud, the mind is no longer your master but your servant. But how do you use this powerful, newly tamed servant? For your entire life, the ego has known only one model for creation, the model of force. It is the way of the dam builder. It decides upon a goal, a destination, and then, with grim determination, it obsessively calculates every single step required to get there. It creates a rigid, linear, step-by-step plan, and then it tries to bludgeon reality into conforming to that plan. If step 3 does not go as expected, it panics. If an unforeseen obstacle appears, it despairs. This way of creating is brittle, exhausting, and leaves absolutely no room for magic, for grace, for miracles. It is rooted in the deep-seated belief that you are alone, and that the universe is an inert, chaotic system that must be conquered and controlled by the sheer force of your will. But from the spaciousness of the sky, you can see that this is not true. You are not alone. You are part of a living, breathing, intelligent universe that is constantly conspiring in your favor. And to work with this universe is to learn a new way of creating, a way based not on force, but on partnership. It is the art of surrendering the how. This new way is a dance of co-creation, and like any partnership, it requires a clear understanding of roles. There is your role, and there is the universe's role. To confuse these two roles is the source of all struggle. Your role is to become crystal clear on the what and the why. The what is your desire, your intention. It is the seed you wish to plant. You use your magnificent mind, now your servant, to clarify this intention. What is it you truly wish to experience? Not what you think you should want, not what society tells you to want, but what your soul genuinely yearns for. Even more important than the what is the why. The why is the feeling state, the energetic signature of your desire. You do not just want a new job, you want the feeling of creative fulfillment, of purpose, of financial ease. You do not just want a relationship, you want the feeling of deep connection, of unconditional love, of joyful companionship. Your second task is to use your body, your compass, to embody this feeling now. You close your eyes and feel what it would feel like to already have what you desire. You let the warmth of that fulfillment, that love, that peace, saturate every cell of your being. This is your crucial work. To define the intention clearly and to generate the feeling of its fulfillment, your job is to plant the seed and to water it with the feelings of your heart. Once you have done this, your work is complete. Now, we come to the universe's role. The universe's job is the how. The how is the entire sacred, mysterious, and miraculous process of unfolding through which your intention will be made manifest in the physical world. The how consists of the sequence of events, the synchronicities, the coincidences, the chance meetings, the unexpected opportunities, the closed doors and the open windows that will lead you to your destination. The how is the domain of infinite intelligence. The universe has a vantage point that your limited mind can never have. It can see the entire web of connection, the trillions of intersecting pathways of possibility. It knows the most direct, the most graceful, the most magical route from where you are to where you want to be. A route your mind could not possibly conceive of. To obsess over the how is to tell the master architect that you, with your limited view from a single window, know better how to build the entire cathedral. It is an act of profound distrust, and it is the single greatest obstacle to receiving what you have asked for. Imagine you are ordering a precious and wonderful item from a vast, infinitely intelligent online store, the store of the universe. You browse the catalogue of possibilities. With great care, you select the item you desire, your what. Then the system asks you to feel the joy and gratitude of knowing the item is already yours, your why. You feel it with all your heart. You click confirm. The order is placed. At that moment, a powerful logistical network far beyond your comprehension is activated to bring your item to you. Your job is done. Now, imagine what would happen if you then spent every second of every day trying to control the delivery process. You frantically track the package, not with joyful anticipation, but with panicked fear. You try to hack into the traffic camera system to monitor the delivery truck. You call the driver every 5 minutes. Did you take a left on Elm Street? You should have. It's faster. Why are you stopping? Don't stop. The driver would become exasperated. Your constant interference, your lack of trust, would only serve to confuse and slow down the delivery. You might even, in your panic, give the wrong directions and send the driver to the wrong city entirely. This is precisely what we do when we obsess over the how. We place our order with the universe, and then we spend all our energy trying to micromanage the delivery. We worry. We doubt, we try to force things, we complain that it's not happening fast enough, we conclude that it's not coming at all. Every worry is a phone call to the driver saying, "I don't trust you." Every doubt is an attempt to cancel the order. Your currency in this new partnership is trust. Your payment is your faith. You must learn to live in a state of trustful expectancy. This is not a passive waiting, it is an active, joyful state of knowing. You go about your daily life, anchored in the present moment, with an underlying feeling of peace and excitement, knowing that wheels are turning, that things are being arranged, that your delivery is on its way. When you live in this state, you are open and receptive to the universe's instructions, to the parts of the how that are revealed to you. These instructions do not come in the form of a detailed 10-point plan. They come as a sudden intuitive nudge, an inspired idea that seems to come from nowhere, a sudden urge to call an old friend, a random desire to visit a particular bookstore or coffee shop. This is the universe giving you your next step. This is inspired action. It feels light, effortless, and joyful. It is utterly different from the anxious, heavy, forceful striving of the ego. Your only job is to trust these nudges and take the next obvious, simple, inspired step. You do not need to know where it will lead. You only need to trust the step itself. This state of trust, of letting go of the how, is not just a psychological shift. It is a profound energetic one. You are fundamentally changing your vibrational frequency. You are moving from the dense, contracted, and desperate vibration of control and fear into the open, spacious, and receptive vibration of allowance. And it is this new vibration, this new frequency, that finally allows the miracles to find their way to you. This state of trust, of letting go of the how, is not merely a psychological adjustment. It is a profound, energetic shift. To truly grasp the miracle of letting go, we must be willing to explore a fundamental truth, a truth known to mystics for millennia, and now being whispered by the most advanced discoveries of quantum physics. Everything is energy. The chair you are sitting on, the light in your room, the air you are breathing, the solid-seeming body you inhabit, and most importantly, the thoughts you are thinking, all are simply energy, vibrating at different frequencies. Nothing is truly solid. Everything is a dance of vibration. You yourself are not just a physical body. You are a complex, dynamic field of energy, a broadcasting tower, constantly sending a signal out into the great energetic field of the universe. This signal is your vibration. It is the cumulative resonant frequency that results from the sum total of your being, your dominant beliefs, your recurring thoughts, your most common emotional states, and the degree of tension or relaxation in your physical body. You are broadcasting a signal every moment of every day, whether you are aware of it or not. This broadcast is what creates your reality, not in a metaphorical sense, but in a literal, physical sense. The universe, in its infinite intelligence, operates on a simple, elegant, and impersonal law, the law of resonance, often called the law of attraction. Like attracts like. A vibrating tuning fork will cause another tuning fork of the same frequency to begin vibrating, even across a distance. In the same way, the vibrational frequency you broadcast will attract experiences, people, and circumstances that are a perfect energetic match for it. The universe does not give you what you want with your words. It gives you what you are with your vibration. For the sake of clarity, let us simplify the infinite spectrum of possible vibrations into two fundamental, opposing frequencies: the vibration of resistance and the vibration of allowance. The vibration of resistance is the frequency of the ego. It is the dense, contracted, and discordant signal that you broadcast when you are living from a place of fear, lack, and separation. Its mental component is the constant stream of worry, doubt, judgment, and the obsessive need to control. It is the mind that is always calculating, strategizing, and trying to force outcomes. Its emotional component is the feeling state of fear, anxiety, frustration, impatience, anger, and blame. Its physical component is the tangible tension in your body, the clenched jaw, the tight shoulders, the shallow breathing, the knot in your stomach. When you are in a state of resistance, your broadcast to the universe is a chaotic, staticky signal that essentially says, "Life is a struggle, I am unsafe. There is not enough. I am separate and alone. I must fight for everything I get." And the universe, which is a neutral mirror, simply reflects this broadcast back to you. It does not judge it as bad or wrong. It simply matches the frequency. When you broadcast struggle, you attract more situations that feel like a struggle. When you broadcast lack, you find more evidence of lack in your life, the unexpected bill, the missed opportunity. When you broadcast fear and the need for control, you attract events that seem to justify your fear and that feel utterly out of your control. You become trapped in a feedback loop where your reality constantly validates the very vibration that is creating it. This is the experience of being stuck, of hitting your head against the same wall again and again. It is the experience of the dam builder, feeling the ever-increasing pressure of a life that seems to be working against you. Now, consider the alternative, the vibration of allowance. This is the frequency of your true self, of the soul. It is the open, spacious, and harmonious signal that you broadcast when you are living from a place of trust, abundance, and connection. Its mental component is a state of curiosity, open-mindedness, and wonder. It is the quiet mind that has surrendered the how. Its emotional component is the feeling, state of peace, gratitude, joy, patience, and love. Its physical component is a tangible sense of relaxation and openness in your body. The unclenched hands, the dropped shoulders, the deep, easy, diaphragmatic breathing. When you are in a state of allowance, your broadcast to the universe is a clear, powerful, and coherent signal that says, "I am safe, life supports me, all is well. I am an open channel for grace and abundance to flow through." And the universe, the great mirror, faithfully reflects this broadcast back to you. When you broadcast trust, you begin to experience events that deepen your trust. When you broadcast gratitude, you are given more things to be grateful for. When you broadcast peace and allowance, your life begins to unfold with a startling sense of ease and grace. Solutions appear as if from nowhere. The right people call at the right time. You are no longer fighting the river, you are flowing with it, and it carries you beautifully. Think of it this way. Imagine the universe is broadcasting an infinite number of radio stations simultaneously, on every conceivable frequency. There is Struggle FM, where the programming is all about hardship and bad news. There is Joy FM, playing the most beautiful, uplifting music. There is Anxiety AM, with its constant panicked breaking news alerts. There is Peace Radio, with its calm, meditative tones. There is Not Enough Television and Infinite Abundance Radio. All of these stations are being broadcast right now with perfect clarity and power. You are the radio receiver. Your vibration is the frequency your dial is tuned to. The crucial thing to understand is this: you cannot hear the music of Joy FM if your dial is tuned to Struggle FM. You will simply conclude that the only thing on the air is struggle. You cannot experience the reality of abundance if your being is tuned to the frequency of lack. This is why two people can live in the same world, even in the same household, and have completely different experiences of reality. They are not living in the same world. They are living in the world that corresponds to their own personal broadcast. Your work is not to change the world. Your work is simply to change your station. So how do you change your station? How do you shift from the dense vibration of resistance to the luminous vibration of allowance? You do not do it by trying to be positive. Trying is an act of force, which belongs to the frequency of resistance. You cannot force yourself to be happy or peaceful. You shift your frequency by gently and consistently practicing the arts we have already discussed. You practice the sacred pause. By stopping and breathing, you interrupt the momentum of the resistant thought patterns. You stop feeding the static. You use your body as a compass. By dropping your awareness into your body, you ground yourself in the present moment, which is the only place the frequency of allowance exists. You can feel the difference between the contracted state of resistance and the open state of allowance, and you can consciously choose to relax your body, which in turn softens your vibration. You practice the art of observation. By realizing you are the sky and not the clouds of thought, you automatically disidentify from the fearful, controlling thoughts that generate the frequency of resistance. You create space. You surrender the how. This is the ultimate act of retuning your dial. Every time you release the need to control an outcome, you are consciously turning your dial from fear to trust. And perhaps the most powerful tuning fork of all is the practice of gratitude. Gratitude is the native language of allowance. It is impossible to feel genuine gratitude and be in a state of resistance at the same time. The ego, with its focus on lack, cannot comprehend gratitude. To practice, simply find one small thing in your present experience to be grateful for. The feeling of the chair supporting you, the taste of your tea, the fact that you are breathing without effort. Close your eyes and truly feel that gratitude in your heart, in your body. Let it expand. In that moment, you have successfully changed your station. You are broadcasting a pure signal of allowance. This is not a practice of perfection. It is a practice of gentle course correction. You will find your dial drifting back to the old, familiar static of resistance many times a day. Your job is not to scold yourself, but to notice it with compassion. Ah, I see my dial has drifted to Worry FM again. And then you gently use your tools, your breath, your body, your awareness, your gratitude to retune to the frequency of peace. The goal is not to be on the right station 100% of the time, but to make allowance your dominant home frequency. As you learn to consciously inhabit this vibration of allowance, as it becomes your new normal, you will begin to notice the world responding in a new way. At first, the evidence may be small. A parking spot opening up right in front of you, thinking of a friend and having them call moments later, finding the perfect book you need falling off a shelf. Do not dismiss these as mere coincidences. They are the first physical manifestations of your new resonance. Then, as you continue to hold this frequency, bigger things will begin to align. The perfect client appears out of the blue. The money you need arrives from a completely unexpected source. The difficult relationship begins to heal without effort. This is not magic in the sense of breaking the laws of the universe. This is magic in the sense of finally aligning with the laws of the universe. You begin to see that life is not happening to you, but through you and for you. And as you stabilize in this new way of being, you realize that these resonant events are more than just pleasant outcomes. They are a form of communication. They are winks from the cosmos, signs on the path, whispers from a friendly universe confirming that you are in the flow. They are the vocabulary of a new language you are learning to understand, the language of synchronicity. When you live in the vibration of resistance, trapped behind the walls of your dam, the world feels random, chaotic, and often hostile. Events seem disconnected. Life appears to be a series of meaningless accidents, a procession of hurdles to be overcome. You feel isolated, a solitary being struggling against an indifferent universe. This is not because the universe is actually indifferent, but because your frequency is tuned to the station of separation, and so separation and meaninglessness are all you can perceive. But as you shift your energetic signature, as you learn to inhabit the open, trusting vibration of allowance, something miraculous begins to happen. Your perception of the world fundamentally changes. You begin to realize that you are not separate from the world at all. You are in a constant, intimate dialogue with it. The boundary between your inner state and your outer world becomes permeable, and you start to notice the language the universe uses to speak back to you. This is the language of synchronicity. Synchronicity is a term coined by the psychologist Carl Jung to describe a meaningful coincidence. A coincidence is when two or more events happen at the same time by chance. A synchronicity is when those events are not connected causally, but are connected by meaning, a meaning that is unique and personal to you. It is the experience of your inner world being mirrored by the outer world in a way that feels startling, magical, and deeply personal. It is the universe winking at you. When you were living in resistance, these events may still have occurred, but you would have dismissed them as mere chance. Your mind, the great rationalizer, would have explained them away. But now, with your new frequency, you have the sensitivity to perceive the meaning, to feel the resonance. You are no longer living in a monologue of your own thoughts. You are participating in a dialogue with the cosmos. What does this language look like? It is subtle, poetic, and tailored specifically to you. It can be the experience of having the right information appear at the perfect time. You are grappling with a difficult problem, feeling completely stuck, and you decide to take a walk. You overhear a fragment of conversation from two strangers passing by, and in that fragment is the very key, the precise insight you were missing. You open a book to a random page, and your eyes fall upon a sentence that speaks directly to the question in your heart. You are scrolling idly online, And an article or a video about a topic you were just pondering mysteriously appears in your feed. It can be the appearance of repeating number sequences. You glance at the clock and it is 11:11. You get a receipt at a store and the total is $22.22. You are driving in traffic and the license plate in front of you is 444. From the ego's perspective, this is meaningless. But from a state of allowance, you can perceive this as a gentle nudge from the universe, a way of getting your attention. It often happens right after you have had a significant thought, made a decision, or asked the universe for a sign. These numbers are like little chimes, reminding you to be present, reminding you that you are connected, that you are seen. It can be the arrival of animal messengers. A majestic hawk circles directly over your head at the exact moment you make a powerful commitment to your own freedom. A dragonfly, a symbol of transformation, lands on your hand during a period of deep reflection. You are walking in nature, wrestling with a decision, and a deer steps out of the woods and looks you directly in the eye, and in that moment of shared stillness, you feel your answer. The universe uses the natural world to communicate in a language older than words. It can be a song on the radio. You get in your car feeling lost or heartbroken, and the first song that plays has lyrics that feel as if they were written for you in that exact moment. They articulate your pain or offer the precise message of hope you needed to hear, bringing tears of recognition and relief. And most powerfully, it can be the chance encounters. You finally surrender the how on a project, and the next day you bump into the one person who has the exact skills or connections you need. You decide to forgive someone from your past, and you run into them at the grocery store a week later, giving you the opportunity for closure. These are the moments when the universe's logistical genius is on full display, weaving together the lives of billions to create a single, perfect, meaningful moment just for you. So, how do you interpret this language without falling into superstition? The first thing to understand is that this is a deeply personal language. A hawk does not have a universal, fixed meaning. It has the meaning that it holds for you. The universe speaks to you using the symbols of your own life, your own memories, your own heart. To decipher the message, you must consult your own inner compass. When a synchronicity occurs, the first thing to do is notice how it makes you feel. Does it give you a shiver of excitement, a feeling of deep peace and rightness in your gut, a sudden sense of clarity and expansion in your chest? That feeling, that inner aha of resonance, is the confirmation. That is how you know it is a true sign and not just a random event. Your body tells you the truth. The second key is to not go hunting for signs. The ego, in its cunning way, can try to co-opt this beautiful dialogue and turn it into another form of control and anxiety. It can start demanding signs and then worrying when they don't appear. I haven't seen 11 today. Does that mean I'm on the wrong path? This is the trap of superstition. The art is to live in a state of open, relaxed awareness and allow the signs to find you. They are not commands you must obey. They are confirmations. They are encouragements. They are the universe's way of saying, yes, keep going. You are in the flow. I am with you. And 4. Living with an awareness of synchronicity is to live with the constant, comforting proof that you are not alone in a cold, mechanical universe. You are an integral part of a living, breathing, intelligent and friendly presence that is actively communicating with you and conspiring for your highest good. Your only job is to stay tuned to the frequency of allowance so you can perceive its messages. And when you do perceive a sign, when one of these moments of meaningful coincidence graces your day, the proper response is simple and powerful: gratitude. A quiet, internal thank you. This act of gratitude acknowledges the communication. It tells the universe, I'm listening, I see you, I trust you. It strengthens the connection and invites more of this graceful dialogue into your life. To live in this way, to trust the flow of the river and navigate by these subtle, synchronous signs, requires a completely different kind of power than the one you are used to. The old strength of the ego, the strength of the dam builder, was about force, rigidity, and control. But the new strength required for this dance with the universe is something else entirely. It is the strength of yielding, the power of water, the profound resilience of letting go. It is a radical redefinition of what it means to be strong. To live in the flow of the universe, to trust its signs and synchronicities, requires a radical redefinition of what it means to be strong. For our entire lives, we have been told a single story about strength. It is the strength of the warrior in heavy armor, the strength of the immovable mountain, the strength of the mighty oak tree that stands defiant against the storm. This is the ego's definition of strength. It is about resistance, rigidity, hardness, and the forceful exertion of will. It is the belief that to be strong is to never bend, to never break, to never show vulnerability. We have been taught to build walls, to grit our teeth, and to push against the world with all our might. This is the strength of the dam builder, and we have seen where this strength leads. It leads to exhaustion. The warrior's armor is heavy, hot, and isolates him from the touch of the world. The mountain that seems so permanent can be worn down by the patient wind and rain, or shattered by the inner fire of a volcano. And the mighty oak tree, the very symbol of this unbending strength, meets its end in the great hurricane. By pitting its force directly against the force of the wind, by refusing to yield, its trunk strains, its branches groan, and finally, with a great tearing crack, it shatters and falls. This form of strength is brittle. It is a constant battle against the nature of reality, and that is an exhausting and ultimately unwinnable war. There is another kind of strength, a power that the ego cannot comprehend because it appears, on the surface, to be its opposite. It is the strength found in yielding. It is the power of water, the resilience of bamboo. Consider the nature of water. It is, as the Tao Te Ching reminds us, the softest and most yielding substance in the world. You cannot grasp it in your fist. You cannot punch it. Your blow meets no resistance. It does not argue with the shape of the container it is placed in. It simply adapts. If it meets a great stone in its path, it does not try to smash the stone with a single blow. It flows around it. It finds the path of least resistance. And yet, with this gentle, soft, and persistent yielding, water can carve canyons through solid rock. With its patient, unrelenting flow, it can wear away entire mountains. The softest thing in the world overcomes the hardest thing in the world. This is the new strength we are invited to embody. To be strong like water is to be adaptable. When you meet an obstacle or a setback in your life, you no longer see it as a wall to be battered down with the force of your will. You see it as a stone in the river. You pause, you feel the situation, and you allow your creative life force to flow around it, to find a new channel, a new way forward. It is to know that your destination is the great ocean, and that there are infinite paths to get there. To be strong like water is to be persistent, not forceful. The power of water is in its continuity, not in a single violent outburst. In your own life, this means small, consistent, gentle actions are more powerful than grand, ego-driven gestures. It is the daily practice of meditation, the consistent choice of kindness, the patient work on your craft. This gentle persistence is what wears away the great stones of your own inner resistance. To be strong like water is to be humble. Water naturally seeks the lowest place, and yet it nourishes all life. True strength has nothing to prove. It does not need to be loud, aggressive, or dominant. It is quiet, confident, and life-giving, content to serve from a place of humility. Now, consider the bamboo. Imagine a great storm sweeping through a forest. The mighty oak stands proud, its trunk thick, its branches unbending. It is a perfect image of the ego's strength. Next to it stands a slender stalk of bamboo. As the winds howl, the oak braces itself, fighting the storm's power with its own. The bamboo, however, does something entirely different. It bends. It yields completely to the force of the wind, so much so that its top may touch the very ground. From the oak's perspective, the bamboo appears weak, defeated, pathetic, but the storm intensifies. And at the peak of its fury, the proud oak, which refused to yield, is snapped in two. When the storm finally passes and the sun emerges, the mighty oak lies broken and dead on the forest floor. And the bamboo, which yielded so completely, which offered no resistance, slowly, gracefully, straightens itself up again, pointing once more to the sky, unharmed. Which was truly the stronger? The strength of the bamboo is in its flexibility. Its resilience comes directly from its ability to yield. In your life, this translates to emotional and mental flexibility. It is the ability to adapt to changing circumstances, to allow painful emotions to move through you without breaking you, to let go of your rigid plans when life presents a different path. Rigidity is brittleness. Flexibility is resilience. The bamboo can bend so far without breaking because its root system is strong and deep. For us, our roots are our connection to our inner being, to the silent, aware presence that is our true nature. The more deeply you are rooted in the stillness of the present moment, the more you can bend and flex in the face of life's storms without being uprooted. A person who is not rooted in their own being is easily snapped by the winds of criticism, failure, or loss. A person who is deeply rooted in their own silent consciousness can bow to any storm and rise again. And there is one more secret to the bamboo's strength. It is hollow on the inside. This emptiness is not a lack, it is a source of power. It allows life force, or chi, to flow through it unobstructed. For us, this represents the inner space created by non-identification with the ego. When your sense of self is not tied up in a rigid, solid identity, your job, your achievements, your beliefs, then you become hollow in this positive sense. Life can move through you. You are no longer a solid, brittle object, but an open, flexible channel. This new strength of yielding is a conscious and wise choice. It is not the passive weakness of a victim. It is not being a doormat. A victim yields because they feel they have no power. The wise person yields because they know that is where true power lies. You do not let go of being right in an argument because you are weak. You let go because you are wise enough to value peace over the ego's need for validation. You do not adapt your plans because you are a failure. You adapt because you are intelligent enough to dance with reality rather than fight it. You forgive others not because they necessarily deserve it, but because you understand that holding on to resentment makes you as rigid and brittle as the oak tree, and you choose the flexible resilience of bamboo. To become like the water and the bamboo, to embody this profound, yielding strength, you must first have compassion for the part of you that tried so desperately to be the oak, the inner controller, the dam builder, the tiny king in your mind. He acted from a desire to protect you. He used the only definition of strength he knew, the one the world taught him. He built walls and fought storms because he thought that was the only way to keep you safe. The next step in this journey of surrender is not to condemn this part of yourself, but to turn toward it with understanding. It is to forgive the controller within. To truly embody the yielding strength of water and bamboo, you must first make peace with the part of you that has always tried to be the stone and the oak. You must turn toward the inner architect of your own prison, not with anger, but with profound compassion. This is the inner controller, the anxious puppeteer, the dam builder, the tiny, terrified king. For so long, you may have seen this part of yourself as the enemy, the source of your anxiety and strife. The spiritual journey, you may have thought, was a battle to vanquish it, to silence it, to cast it out. But a war against the self is a war that can never be won. It only deepens the conflict and strengthens the very resistance you wish to dissolve. The path of true surrender, the path of healing, begins when you stop fighting. It begins when you turn toward this controlling part of you with radical compassion and understanding. You must realize that this inner controller is not a villain. It is a survival mechanism. It is a part of your psyche that was forged in pain, born from a time in your life, perhaps very early on, when the world felt unsafe, unpredictable, or overwhelming. At some point in your past, you experienced a vulnerability so profound, a pain so sharp, that a part of you made a vow. I will never let that happen again. That vow was the birth certificate of the inner controller. Its prime directive, its entire reason for being, is to protect you from re-experiencing that original pain. All of its frantic activity, all of its obsessive planning, all of its anxious vigilance is a misguided but ultimately loving attempt to keep you safe. Imagine this controller not as a tyrant, but as a small, frightened child who, through some strange twist of fate, was left in charge of something far too big for it to handle: your life. This child saw you get hurt once, and it has been desperately trying to prevent it from ever happening again. It thinks that if it can just arrange all the furniture in the room perfectly, if it can just lock all the doors and windows, then the monsters will not be able to get in. It does not understand that the monsters are not real, and that by locking all the doors, it is also preventing love, joy, and grace from entering. It is doing the very best it can with the limited understanding and the terrified perspective of a child. Or see this controller as an overzealous, hyper-vigilant guardian who has been standing watch at the gate of your heart for decades. It took up its post long ago, perhaps after a great heartbreak, a deep betrayal, or a humiliating failure. On that day, it vowed, "Never again. I will not let you be hurt like that again." And it has kept its vow with unwavering, exhausting dedication. It has paced back and forth, armed with the weapons of suspicion, criticism, and control. It has challenged everyone and everything that has come near. It has kept you safe by keeping you small. It has protected you from heartbreak by keeping love at a distance. It has saved you from failure by preventing you from taking meaningful risks. It is utterly exhausted, but it does not know how to stop. It believes that the moment it lets down its guard, you will be destroyed. This guardian does not realize that you have grown up. It is still operating on old, outdated programming. It doesn't know about your new connection to the vast intelligence of the universe. It doesn't understand the strength of yielding, the resilience of bamboo. It sees your attempts to let go, to trust, to surrender, as acts of utter recklessness. Its panicked voice screams, "What are you doing? This is dangerous. You must control this." Because, from its perspective, control is the only form of safety it has ever known. You cannot fire this guardian. You cannot banish this child. They are a part of you. To try to do so is an act of self-violence. The only path to peace is through love. You must become the compassionate, wise adult that this frightened part of you has been waiting for your entire life. I invite you now to enter into a sacred dialogue. Find a quiet space where you can be undisturbed. Close your eyes and take a few deep, settling breaths, anchoring yourself in the present moment. Now, in your mind's eye, gently invite this controlling part of you to appear. Do not force it. Simply create a safe, loving space and ask it to show itself to you. See it in whatever form it takes. Perhaps it is a frantic, younger version of yourself. Perhaps it is a warrior in heavy armor. Perhaps it is a small, trembling child holding your hand in a death grip. Whatever form it takes, do not judge it. Do not try to change it. Just hold it in the loving, spacious field of your awareness. Gaze upon it with the eyes of pure compassion. See its fear. See its exhaustion. See how desperately it has been trying to do a good job. And then, from your heart, from the seat of your true self, begin to speak to it silently. You might say something like this: I see you. I see how hard you have been working to protect me for all these years. I see how tired you are, how heavy your weapons have become. I want to say thank you. Thank you for your tireless dedication. Thank you for trying so hard to keep me safe. You have done an incredible job with the tools and the understanding you had. I am so grateful for your love and your protection. Let yourself truly feel this gratitude. Let it wash over this part of you. This is the first step. The controller has only ever known struggle and fear. It has never been met with gratitude. Feel how this simple act of appreciation already begins to soften its rigid posture. Then, continue your loving dialogue. You might say, "But your watch is over now. Your shift has ended. I am grown now. I am safe. I have found a new kind of strength, a power far greater than your control. I am connected to the wisdom of the universe. You do not have to carry this burden anymore. You can rest. You can put down your weapons. You can let go of my hand. I will take it from here. I will keep us safe now." As you say these words, visualize yourself gently taking the weapons of worry from the guardian's hands. Imagine yourself kneeling down, looking the frightened child in the eye, and giving it a warm, reassuring hug. Feel its tense body begin to relax in your embrace. This is not a one-time conversation. It is a new relationship you are building with yourself. You may need to have this dialogue many times, continually reassuring this frightened part of your psyche that it is truly safe to let go, that the wise, conscious, adult you is now in charge. This is the act of reparenting yourself. It is the practice of bringing unconditional love to the parts of you that have lived in fear. This is the deepest form of forgiveness. When you do this, you are not annihilating the controller. You are integrating it. Its powerful energy no longer needs to be used for defense and control. It can be given a new, healthy job. The energy that went into obsessive planning can be transformed into joyful creativity. The energy that went into hypervigilance can become calm, discerning awareness. The frightened child does not need to be banished. It can be invited to come out and play in the safe world you are now creating. The guardian becomes a wise and trusted advisor rather than a panicked tyrant. As this inner integration takes place, as the guardian finally lays down its weapons and the frightened child finally relaxes its grip, you will feel a profound shift in your entire being. Your hands, which have been clenched for so long, in a fist of control, unconsciously bracing for the next threat, will finally, naturally, begin to open. And it is only with empty, open hands that you can truly receive all the gifts that life has been waiting and wanting to give you all along. When the inner guardian finally agrees to rest, when the frightened child within you feels safe enough to relax its grip, a profound and quiet miracle occurs. Your hands, which have been clenched for a lifetime in a fist of control, unconsciously bracing for the next threat, finally, gently, begin to open. Take a moment now to look at these hands, either in your mind's eye or literally before you. For so long, you believed that their tightness was a sign of strength, of responsibility, of holding your life together. You were holding on to your precise plans for the future, holding on to your grievances from the past, holding on to your carefully constructed identity, holding on to your fears. You believed that what you held so tightly in your fist was precious, that it was the very source of your security. But here is the great and liberating paradox. The very act of holding on is what has prevented you from truly having anything at all. What have you been clinging to with such desperate force? Imagine that your clenched fist is full of pebbles. Each pebble represents something you have been unwilling to release. There are the smooth, heavy pebbles of control, your rigid expectations of how your life, your career, and other people should be. There are the sharp, jagged pebbles of past hurt-souled resentments, betrayals, and victim stories that you carry around as proof that the world is unsafe and that you are justified in your tightness. They feel solid and real in your hand, a constant, painful reminder. There are the oddly shaped pebbles of identity, the labels you cling to for your sense of self. I am a successful person. I am a spiritual person. I am a hard worker. I am a victim. You clutch these pebbles, fearing that if you let them go, you will not know who you are. And then there is a handful of fine, irritating gravelthy, countless pebbles of worry about the future, each one a tiny projection of a potential negative outcome. Look at your fist, full of these pebbles. The act of clenching requires constant energy. It creates a state of tension that radiates up your arm, into your shoulder, and throughout your entire nervous system. It is exhausting, and more importantly, a hand that is full and clenched is a hand that is useless. It cannot create something new. It cannot caress a loved one. It cannot gesture in openness and freedom. And most fundamentally, a hand that is clenched shut cannot receive anything. Life, the universe, God, grace, whatever name you choose for it, has been standing before you your entire life, with its own hands open, offering you jewels of unimaginable beauty. It has been offering you the jewel of peace, the jewel of joy, the jewel of true connection, the jewel of inspiration, the jewel of abundance. But you have been unable to receive them because your hands were already full of pebbles you refused to drop. The act of surrender, the great work of letting go, is the simple, courageous act of uncurling your fingers. It is the conscious choice to open your hand and let the pebbles fall. This can feel terrifying. As you begin to loosen your grip, the ego screams in protest. No, don't drop them. That's all you have. If you let go of your plans, you will have no direction. If you let go of your grievances, you will be a fool who lets others walk all over you. If you let go of your identity, you will be nothing. If you drop these pebbles, your hands will be empty. The ego is correct about one thing: your hands will be empty, and that is the entire point. It is the ultimate test of your faith. Are you willing to trade the familiar, painful weight of your pebbles for the unknown potential of a sacred emptiness? I invite you now to feel into this. Feel your hands in your lap or by your sides. Notice if there is any tension there. Are your fingers curled? Are your thumbs tight? Consciously, with a gentle intention, allow them to soften. Let your fingers lengthen. Turn your palms to face upward in the universal posture of receiving. This simple physical gesture is a powerful prayer. It is a declaration to the universe. It says, I am willing, I am open, I am ready to receive. Feel the air on the skin of your open palms. Feel the space around your hands. This emptiness is not the desolate emptiness of lack. It is not the emptiness of poverty or destitution. It is the sacred, fertile emptiness of pure potential. It is the emptiness of a clear blue sky, which can hold both the sun and the moon. It is the silence between the notes of a symphony, which gives the music its beauty. It is the pristine, white canvas upon which a masterpiece can be painted. It is the spaciousness of the womb from which all new life emerges. You must become empty to be filled. And what are the jewels that life has been waiting to place in your now open hands? First, it offers you the jewel of the present moment. You cannot hold the richness of the now with a clenched fist. When your hands are open, you can finally feel the texture of your own life, the warmth of the sun on your skin, the intricate taste of your food, the comforting weight of a loved one's hand in yours. The present moment can only be received with an open, gentle awareness. Next, it offers you the jewel of true connection. You cannot truly embrace another person while you are clinging to your expectations of who they should be. When your hands are open, you are no longer trying to control or manage your relationships. You are simply present with the other person, able to give and receive love, support, and intimacy freely, without an agenda. Life also offers you the jewel of inspiration, great ideas, creative insights, and intuitive solutions to your problems do not arise from a tense, controlling mind. They drop into a mind that is open, spacious, and receptive. Like a butterfly, inspiration needs a soft, open flower to land on. It cannot land on a clenched fist. When you let go, you create the inner space for true genius to emerge through you. And of course, there is the jewel of abundance. Abundance is the natural state of the universe. Support, help, opportunities, and yes, money are constantly flowing, but they flow like water, seeking open channels. When you are clenched in a state of lack and fear, you are energetically closed off. You cannot see the opportunities that are right in front of you. You are too proud or too afraid to ask for or receive help. When your hands are open, you become an open channel. You declare your trust in the flow, and the flow responds in kind. Finally, and most preciously, life places in your open hand the jewel of peace. Peace is not something you can achieve, grasp, or hold onto. It is not a pebble you can possess. Peace is the natural state of your own being when you stop clinging to conflict. It is the feeling of your open hands. It is the quiet hum of your nervous system when it is no longer in a state of fight or flight. It is the simple, profound relief of no longer resisting reality. Living with open hands becomes a new orientation to life. You move through your days not as a frantic hoarder, trying to grab and secure your share, but as a graceful host, with open arms, ready to welcome whatever and whoever comes. There is a deep, quiet trust that what is meant for you will arrive in its perfect time, and what leaves was not meant to be held. You are no longer defined by what you possess, but by your capacity to let life flow through you. This open-handed, open-hearted state is not passive. It is the most powerful and creative stance you can take. It is the posture of the dancer, balanced and ready to be led. It is the stance of the true co-creator. You have done the deep inner work. You have faced your fears. You have quieted your mind. You have forgiven the controller within. Now, with your hands empty and your heart willing, you are finally ready to learn the steps to the great and miraculous dance of co-creation with life itself. With your hands open and your heart willing, you are now standing on the dance floor of life. For the first time, perhaps, you are not here to fight, to conquer, or to control. You are here for an entirely different purpose. You are here to dance. This is the great and joyous secret that is revealed when you finally let go of the illusion of control. Life is not a battle to be won. It is a dance to be danced. And you are not dancing alone. Your partner, the one who has been patiently waiting for you to stop fighting and simply listen to the music, is life itself, the universe, the vast, benevolent, creative intelligence that animates all things. This intelligence is not a distant, impersonal force. It is an intimate, responsive, and infinitely skillful dance partner. Think back to the old way of being, the way of the ego. That was like trying to dance a complex ballet, alone, in the middle of a crowded room, with the music turned off. You had a rigid, pre-planned choreography in your head, and you spent all your energy trying to force your body and everyone around you to comply with it. You were constantly bumping into people, stumbling over unforeseen obstacles, and growing ever more frustrated and exhausted. You blamed the other people, the flaw, the lack of music. You never realized that the problem was your insistence on dancing a solo of control when you were being invited into a partner dance of co-creation. The music for this new dance has been playing all along, but you could not hear it over the noise of your own anxious mind. The music is the vibration of your own being. When you are tuned to the frequency of allowance, of trust, of joy, and of gratitude, you are broadcasting a clear and beautiful melody into the cosmos. You are sending out an invitation. You are extending your hand to your divine partner and asking, "May I have this dance?" And the universe, which has been waiting for this moment, always says yes. So, what are the steps to this magnificent dance? They are simple, but they require a trust that is utterly foreign to the ego. The first step is the invitation. This is your part of the lead. You begin the dance. A clear, heartfelt intention is how you extend your hand. This is not a desperate demand or a rigid command. It is a loving, clear, and joyful request. I would love to dance with the experience of vibrant health. I would love to explore the choreography of creative fulfillment. I would love to be led in a dance of profound, loving partnership. You use your mind as the beautiful tool it is to clarify the essence of the dance you wish to have, and you use your heart to feel the joy of that dance as if it were already happening. This clarity and this feeling are your opening move. You take one decisive, trusting step onto the floor. The second step, which must follow immediately, is surrender. This is where you trust your partner's lead. The moment you have set your intention, you must release your grip on how the dance will unfold. You have invited your partner to dance. You must now allow your partner to lead. The universe, your partner, knows the entire layout of the dance floor. It knows the rhythm of the music and the movements of all the other dancers. It knows the most graceful, surprising, and beautiful way to move you across the floor. To try and control the steps after you have made your invitation is like grabbing your partner's arms and trying to force them into your own clumsy choreography. It disrupts the flow and creates resistance. Your job is to stay present, balanced, centered in your being, and exquisitely responsive to the lead. The universe may spin you in a direction you did not expect. It may dip you in a way you could not have predicted. It may lead you to a different part of the dance floor altogether. Your role is to breathe, trust, and flow with the movement. The third step is your response. How does the universe lead? It leads through the language you have already learned to recognize. It leads through synchronicity, through intuitive nudges, through inspired ideas, through open doors and closed ones. An inspired action is your response to your partner's lead. When the music swells and your partner guides you into a turn, you must be willing to execute the turn. This is not the heavy, anxious striving of the ego. An inspired action feels light. It feels energizing. It often feels simple, easy, and obvious. It is a step you take with the momentum of the music, not against it. It could be the simple act of making a phone call, writing an email, or visiting a place you were guided to. You do not need to know where this single step leads. You only need to trust the step itself, knowing it is part of a grander choreography you cannot yet see. The fourth and final step, which is woven through all the others, is gratitude. Throughout the dance, you maintain a state of profound appreciation. You are grateful for the music. You are grateful for your partner's strength and grace. You are grateful for the dance itself, regardless of where it seems to be going. Every synchronicity is a reason to feel a surge of gratitude for your partner's perfect timing and clever communication. Every inspired nudge is a cause for thanks. This gratitude is what keeps your heart open. It is what keeps you tuned to the high, clear frequency of allowance. It makes you a more joyful and magnetic dance partner, and it makes the entire experience one of delight rather than a task to be completed. What happens when you stumble? What happens when your partner leads you into a move that feels challenging or awkward, or toward a corner of the dance floor that is dark and frightening? This is a crucial part of the dance. The ego's immediate reaction is to panic, to declare that the dance is ruined, that your partner has made a mistake. But the co-creator understands that there are no wrong steps. Every stumble is an opportunity to learn greater balance. Every challenging move is part of a more complex and ultimately more beautiful choreography. Sometimes the universe must lead you away from what you thought you wanted in order to bring you to the dance you were truly born for. The job you didn't get, the relationship that ended, these were not mistakes. They were divinely choreographed moves to clear the path for something far more aligned with your soul. Your partner did not abandon you. It simply guided you onto a different, more promising section of the floor. Let's shift the metaphor for a moment. You are not only a dancer, you are also a musician in a grand, cosmic orchestra. The universe is the conductor. You have a specific instrument to play your unique gifts, talents, and passions. Your job is not to conduct the entire orchestra. Your job is not to worry about the violin section or the percussion. Your job is simply to play your instrument with all your heart, to be the best flute player or cellist or singer you can be. And you must trust the conductor. When it is time for your solo, the conductor will cue you. You must be ready and willing to play. But you must also trust that the conductor knows exactly when to bring in the strings to support your melody, when to have the drums create a powerful rhythm beneath it. To try and control the whole orchestra from your single chair is not only arrogant, it is impossible. It is a recipe for creating discordant noise. But when you play your part with presence and joy, and trust that the conductor is coordinating the whole, what emerges is a symphony of breathtaking beauty. This is co-creation. In this dance, you also realize you are not the only pair on the floor. In the old model of control, other people were often seen as competition or obstacles. In the dance of co-creation, they are fellow dancers, all moving to the same cosmic music. The universe will often use these other dancers in your choreography. The person who offers you a hand when you stumble, the one who brings you the job offer, the one who breaks your heart to teach you a lesson, they are all your dance partners, sent by the great conductor to play their part in your unfolding story. There is no competition. There is only a vast, interconnected, collaborative dance of becoming. The most profound shift that occurs is that you stop focusing on the destination and you fall in love with the dance itself. The goal is no longer to get to the other side of the room. The goal is the feeling of connection with your partner, the thrill of the music moving through your body, the joy of the surprising and unpredictable nature of the choreography. When you fall in love with the process, the outcomes take care of themselves in ways that are far more magical than your ego could ever have engineered. This is what true creation feels like. It is not a grim, solitary mental exercise of forcing reality to bend to your will. It is a joyful, full-bodied, relational experience of flowing with a loving, supportive, and infinitely intelligent power. You are an active and essential participant, but you are no longer carrying the crushing burden of being solely responsible for the outcome. You are supported, you are guided, and you are celebrated at every single step. The actions you take within this divine dance feel entirely different from the anxious striving of the ego. They do not deplete you, they energize you. They do not feel like work, they feel like play. They are imbued with a sense of rightness, of flow, of grace. This is the profound difference between the frantic pushing of a dam builder and the graceful movement of a dancer. It is the difference between anxious striving and effortless, aligned action. The path of surrender, of letting go, is often mistaken for one of passivity. There is a common fear that if we cease our struggle, if we stop trying to control everything, we will simply become inert, waiting for life to happen to us. But this is a profound misunderstanding. The dance of co-creation is full of action. The river of life is a powerful current of movement. The critical difference in this new way of being lies not in whether you act, but in the source from which that action arises. From the outside, two actions can look identical. Two people can be working late to complete a project. Two people can be having a difficult conversation with a partner. Two people can be starting a new business. But internally, their experiences can be worlds apart. One is acting from a place of anxious striving. The other is moving with the grace of effortless action. To learn to distinguish between these two inner states is to learn the secret of a powerful and joyous life. First, let us examine the familiar energy of anxious striving. This is the default mode of the ego. Its source is always fear. It is rooted in the belief that you are separate, that resources are scarce, and that if you do not force things to happen, they will not happen at all. It is the action of the dam builder, frantically trying to patch leaks and reinforce a structure against the immense pressure of the river. When you are engaged in anxious striving, the feeling state is one of heaviness. Your actions are motivated by a should, a must, or a have to. There is a palpable sense of pressure, of a deadline either real or imagined breathing down your neck. There is a feeling of dread, of pushing a great boulder uphill. Your mind is not focused on the task at hand, but is lost in the future, worrying about the outcome. Will this be good enough? What if I fail? What will they think of me? The mental commentary is one of constant calculation, criticism, and fear. Your body responds accordingly. When you strive, your body is tense. Notice it in yourself. The shoulders creep up toward the ears. The jaw is tight. The breath is shallow, held high in the chest. Your body is being flooded with the stress hormones, adrenaline and cortisol. It is in a low-grade state of fight or flight. You are treating the task at hand as if it were a mortal threat. The result of anxious striving is always depletion. It drains your life force. Even if you manage to achieve your goal through sheer grit-toothed effort, the success often feels hollow. You are too exhausted to enjoy it, and because you were acting from a low, contracted vibration of resistance, the process itself was likely fraught with unnecessary obstacles and conflicts. You were rowing against the current. Yes, you were rowing, you were taking action, but the full force of the river was pushing back against you every step of the way, making the journey 10 times harder than it needed to be. Now, let us turn to the liberating alternative: effortless, aligned action. The source of this action is entirely different. It does not come from fear. It comes from inspiration and trust. It arises from your connection to the flow of life itself. It is the action of the dancer who is joyfully responding to the music. It is the action of the navigator who is skillfully working with the river's current. When you are moving with effortless action, the feeling state is one of lightness and expansion. The motivation is not a have to, but a get to, a want to, or a simple, clear, it's time. There is a sense of curiosity and even playfulness. Your mind is not fixated on the outcome. It is joyfully absorbed in the process itself. This is the state that psychologists call flow, a state where you are so immersed in an activity that you lose all track of time. The inner critic is silent. You are not separate from the action. You are one with it. Your body reflects this inner state. It is relaxed, yet alert. Your breath is deep, slow, and easy, originating from your belly. There is a sense of energy moving through you, rather than being forced from you. It feels less like you are doing something, and more like something is being done through you. You are a channel for a creative intelligence far greater than your own. The result of effortless action is energization. You can work for hours on a project that is in flow and feel more alive, more vibrant, and more inspired at the end than you did when you began. It fills you up rather than drains you. And because you are acting from a high, open vibration of allowance, the process unfolds with a sense of grace and ease. You are rowing with the current. You are still performing the action of rowing, but the river itself is doing most of the work, carrying you swiftly, joyfully, and often in surprising directions toward a destination even more beautiful than the one you originally envisioned. So, how do we cultivate this state? How do we learn to recognize the source of our impulse to act? The primary tool is the one you have been developing all along, the practice of the pause and the wisdom of your body. Before you leap into a significant action, especially one that feels heavy or pressured, pause. Take 3 deep breaths. Drop your awareness out of the noisy chatter of your head and down into the quiet truth of your body. Ask yourself, what is the source of this impulse to act? Is it a tense, contracted feeling of fear? Fear of missing out? Fear of not being enough? Fear of being punished? Or is it a calm, expansive, and often joyful feeling of inspiration, of a clear inner knowing? Contemplate the action itself. Imagine you are doing it. Now, check in with your body compass. Does the thought of this action make your body feel tight, constricted, and heavy? That is the signature of anxious striving. Does it make your body feel open, light, and energized? That is the signature of effortless action. Your body knows the difference, and it will never lie to you. You can start practicing this discernment with small, everyday things. Notice the difference between anxiously cleaning your house because you feel you should, and the whole place is a mess, versus joyfully putting on music and tidying up your space because it feels good to create order and beauty. Notice the difference between forcing yourself to go to a social event out of obligation versus feeling a genuine, light-hearted desire to connect with people. As you practice this, you learn to trust the signals of your body more and more. You learn to wait for the feeling of inspiration before you act, trusting that the universe will give you the nudge at the perfect time. You are no longer a slave to the ego's frantic timetable. You are learning to move in rhythm with a deeper, wiser pulse. As you begin to live more and more from this place of effortless, aligned action, a profound realization will dawn upon you. You will begin to see that you, the small separate self you thought you were, is not actually the one performing the action. Rather, a greater intelligence, life itself, is acting through you. You are the vessel, the channel, the instrument. This realization is deeply humbling and incredibly liberating. It begins to dissolve the very foundation of the ego, which is the identity of the doer, the achiever, the one who takes credit for success and blame for failure. You start to see that you are not your plans, you are not your actions, and you are not your accomplishments. Your worth is not tied to your productivity. You are the silent, aware space through which life expresses itself. And as this false identity of the doer begins to melt away, you discover who you truly are. You are something far, far greater. As you learn to move with the grace of effortless action, a subtle but profound shift begins to occur. You start to notice that when a task is completed beautifully, it feels less like, "I did this," and more like, "This was done through me." The sense of a separate, personal doer begins to soften. This leads us to one of the most liberating and radical stages of this entire journey, the dissolving of identity. Who do you believe yourself to be? Take a moment to truly consider this question. The answer that arises in your mind is likely a collection of labels, a story. It begins with a name. Then, it attaches a profession, a series of roles: a parent, a child, a spouse, a friend. It includes a personal history, a narrative of triumphs and traumas, of successes and failures. It is a collage of memories, beliefs, and future aspirations. This collection of labels, this intricate and compelling story, is what you have come to call me. And this me, this fixed idea of who you are, is the most subtle and convincing cage of all. The ego is this story. Its very survival depends on the continuity of this narrative. It clings desperately to the labels. I am the one who achieved this great success. I am the one who suffered this terrible injustice. I am a kind person. I am not good at math. Each of these thoughts is a brick in the wall of a fixed identity. The ego polishes these bricks, defends them, and fears their removal, because without its story, it senses an abyss. It senses annihilation. The need to maintain and defend this identity is the ultimate form of control, the control of your own sense of self. And like all forms of control, it is rigid, brittle, and requires constant, exhausting maintenance. To break free, let us use a new metaphor. Imagine you are a brilliant and deeply committed actor, performing on the grand stage of the world. Years ago, you were cast in a demanding and all-consuming role. Perhaps the role was the struggling provider, or the successful executive, or the dutiful child, or the misunderstood rebel. You are so devoted to your craft that you have thrown yourself into this part completely. You have learned the character's backstory, adopted their unique ways of thinking, speaking, and feeling. You have felt their joys as your own, and their sorrows have brought you real tears. You have become so lost in the role, so identified with the character, that you have completely forgotten who you are when you are not on stage. You have forgotten that you are the actor, not the character. The play is the circumstances of your life. The other actors are the people you interact with. The script is the narrative your ego has written based on your conditioning and past experiences. For decades, you have believed that this play is the ultimate reality and that you are this character on the stage. You have fought for the character's goals, suffered their losses, and defended their honor, all with a desperate seriousness, believing that your very existence was at stake. The entire journey of surrender we have been on letting go of control, quieting the mind, opening the heart is the process of the play coming to an end. The moment of true letting go is the moment the final curtain falls. The stage lights dim, the audience applauds and goes home, and you, the actor, are left standing alone on the quiet stage. There is a moment of profound disorientation. You look at your hands, not as the character's hands, but as your own. You take a breath, not as the character would breathe, but as you, the actor, breathes. And you remember, oh, that was just a role I was playing, a powerful role, a convincing role, but it is not who I fundamentally am. The struggles were real within the context of the play. The emotions were authentic, but your deep, essential identity is not, and has never been, tied to them. You are the consciousness that was animating that character. This brings us to the most terrifying and liberating question of all. Who are you without your story? When you are not your name, not your job, not your past, not your successes or your failures, who are you? The ego fears this question more than anything because its only possible answer is, I am nothing. And the ego is terrified of nothingness. But the soul, the witness, the true self, knows that this nothingness is not a void. It is a no-thingness. It is the state of being without a fixed form. It is pure, unbound, creative potential. It is the freedom of the actor who, after the play is over, can now take on any other role, or, more importantly, can simply rest in their own peaceful, unadorned being. Your true identity is not found in the labels you have collected. Your true identity is the very awareness that is aware of the labels. You are not the thought. You are the awareness of the thought. You are not the emotion. You are the silent, spacious presence that holds the emotion. You are not the character on the stage. You are the consciousness that brings the character to life. Your true name is not, I am this or I am that. It is simply, I am. Feel into this I am presence right now. It is the silent background awareness that is reading these words. It has been with you every moment of your life. It was there during your greatest triumphs and your deepest sorrows. It has not aged. It has no gender. It has no story. It is simply here, now. It is timeless, formless, and indestructible. This is who you truly are. When you begin to rest in, and as this awareness, your relationship to life changes completely. You can still play your roles in the world, but you play them with a newfound lightness and freedom. You can be a parent, a worker, an artist, a friend. You can engage with life's dramas, but you are no longer lost in them. You know it is a play. You wear your worldly identity like a loose garment, not like a skin-tight suit of armor. You can put it on in the morning to engage with the world, and you can take it off at night and rest in the formless peace of your true nature. When you are no longer expending all your energy maintaining and defending a fixed identity, a tremendous amount of life force is liberated within you. Your attention is freed up. You are no longer looking at the world through the narrow, self-obsessed and biased lens of your character, who is always asking, "What does this mean for me? How does this affect my story?" For the first time, you can truly see the world as it is, in all its raw, unfiltered, and breathtaking beauty. Your senses come alive. You are no longer prejudging and pre-labeling every experience to see how it fits into your story. You are simply allowing reality to be what it is. And in this simple, direct seeing, you begin to notice the extraordinary magic shimmering in the heart of the most ordinary things. You begin to discover the miracle of the mundane, when you are no longer compulsively trying to maintain the story of me, when your energy is no longer consumed by defending a fragile identity. Your attention is liberated. For the first time, you are able to look at the world not through the narrow, self-serving filter of the ego, but with the clear, wide, and innocent eyes of pure awareness. And in this new way of seeing, you make the most profound discovery of all, the miracle of the ordinary. For most of our lives, we have been looking for the miracle in the wrong place. We have been conditioned to believe that a miracle is a grand, supernatural, cinematic event, the parting of the seas, the healing of an incurable disease, a lottery win against impossible odds. The ego is a connoisseur of the extraordinary because it finds the ordinary intolerably boring. The ordinary does not feed its need for drama, for significance, for something more. And so, it is always seeking the next peak experience, the next big achievement, the next dramatic sign from the universe. In its constant, frantic search for the spectacular, the ego has rendered itself completely blind and numb to the quiet, pervasive, and continuous miracle that is happening right here, in this very moment. The world has not seemed miraculous to you because you have not truly seen it. You have been living in a conceptual reality, not a sensory one. A veil of thought, of constant mental labeling and commentary, has stood between you and the world. You would look at a flower, and your mind would immediately say, "Rose," and then move on to the next thought. "I should buy some roses for the house," or "I remember the roses at my grandmother's funeral." You did not actually see the flower. You saw your thought about the flower. You did not taste your morning coffee. You were lost in thoughts about the day ahead. You did not feel the warmth of the sun on your skin. You were worrying about whether you had put on enough sunscreen. This constant film of conceptualization is what makes the world seem dull, repetitive, and mundane. The journey of letting go, of dissolving your fixed identity, is the process of this veil becoming thinner and more transparent. As the loud, obsessive voice of the ego quiets down, you are able to experience reality directly for the first time since you were a small child. And what you discover is that this ordinary world is pulsing with an almost unbearable beauty and aliveness. Let us embark on a journey through your senses and rediscover the world together. Let us begin with the miracle of sight. Truly look at something right now. Perhaps it is the palm of your own hand. See it not as my hand, a familiar tool you take for granted. See it as an artist or a child would. See the incredible landscape of lines and creases, each one telling a story. See the unique texture of your skin, the subtle variations in color, the delicate shape of your fingernails. This hand is an object of immense complexity and wonder. It has held, caressed, worked, and felt for you your entire life. To truly see it, just for a moment, is a miracle. Now, let your gaze fall upon a simple object in your room: a cup, a lamp, a book. Resist the mind's urge to label it and move on. Instead, let your seeing be a form of meditation. Notice its form, its shape. See the way the light falls upon it, creating shadows and highlights. If it has color, truly see the color. See its richness, its depth. You have looked at this object 1,000 times, but have you ever truly seen it? To see the world without the filter of thought is to realize you are living inside a masterpiece of light and form. Let us now explore the miracle of sound. Be still for a moment and just listen, not for anything in particular. Open your awareness to the entire symphony of your environment. You might hear obvious sounds, like a voice or music. But can you also hear the subtler sounds? The gentle hum of a refrigerator, the distant muffled sound of traffic, the rustle of leaves outside your window, the sound of your own quiet breathing. And can you listen even more deeply than that? Can you hear the silence that lies beneath and between all the sounds? That silence is not an absence of something, it is a presence. It is the canvas upon which all sound is painted. To become aware of the silence is to become aware of the deep, peaceful stillness of being itself. That is the most profound listening. Now, let us enter the miracle of touch. Your body is in constant contact with the world, but your mind has ignored these sensations. Bring your awareness to the points of contact. Feel the texture of the fabric of your clothes against your skin. Feel the solidness of the chair supporting your weight. Feel the temperature of the air on your face. When you next wash your hands, close your eyes for a moment and just feel. Feel the miraculous sensation of water, its temperature, its fluid movement over your skin. Each of these simple sensations is a direct, intimate encounter with reality, unfiltered by thought. This is life touching you, and you touching life, in the present moment. Consider the miracles of smell and taste. We rush through our meals, our minds a million miles away. The next time you eat or drink something, make it a sacred practice. Before you take a sip of your tea or coffee, bring the cup to your nose and truly smell the aroma. It is a complex bouquet of notes that the earth, the sun, and human hands have conspired to create. When you take a bite of food, chew slowly. Notice the explosion of flavors in your mouth, the sweet, the salty, the sour, the bitter. Be fully present to this one sensory experience. For this single moment, the entire universe has coordinated to bring you this specific taste, this specific nourishment. It is a form of communion, an act of receiving the gift of the earth into your own body. And finally, let us explore the most intimate miracle of all, the aliveness within your own body. Close your eyes and turn your attention inward. Can you feel the subtle field of energy that permeates your entire body? You might feel it as a tingling in your hands and feet. You might feel a gentle warmth or a sense of vibrancy. You do not need to imagine it. It is already here. Can you feel the quiet, faithful, rhythmic beat of your own heart, a drum that has been playing for you since before you were born? This inner aliveness is your most direct and constant connection to the miracle of existence. It is the life of the universe expressing itself as you. To be aware of this inner energy field is to know, without a doubt, that you are not just a mechanical object, but a living, breathing miracle. You have spent a lifetime believing that a great treasure, be it peace, joy, God, or enlightenment, was hidden in a distant land or at the end of an arduous path. You have read the maps of religion and philosophy. You have followed the signposts of gurus and teachers. You have striven and struggled on exhausting journeys to find it. The ultimate realization of this path of surrender is that you have been living inside the treasure chamber all along. Your own backyard is paved with diamonds, but they only sparkle when the light of your conscious, loving attention shines upon them. That presence, that simple, non-judgmental attention is the light. The world does not change. Your capacity to truly perceive it changes. The miracle is not the object or the sensation. The miracle is the seeing, the hearing, the feeling. The miracle is the awareness that is able to perceive it. When you begin to live in this way, the frantic seeking for something more or better naturally begins to fall away. The deep, underlying dissatisfaction that has fueled your ego for a lifetime begins to starve for lack of attention. You discover that the profound peace you were hoping to find at the end of your spiritual journey is actually hidden in the texture of your teacup. The ecstatic joy you were seeking in a peak experience is present in the feeling of sunlight on your face. The divine presence you were looking for in a temple or on a mountaintop is beating in your own heart. Your life is transformed, not by changing your circumstances, but by changing your relationship to them. Washing the dishes ceases to be a chore and becomes a moving meditation on the miracle of warm water and soap. A walk to your car is no longer a mindless transition, but a symphony of bodily sensation and visual wonder. A conversation with a loved one, when you are truly present, becomes a sacred encounter. The mind, of course, will still wander. The veil of thought will fall again and again. The world will seem to become ordinary once more. Your practice is not to achieve a permanent state of miraculous perception. Your practice is simply to notice, with gentle and loving kindness, when you have become lost in thought. And then, without scolding yourself, you gently guide your attention back to the anchor of your breath, back to the aliveness in your hands, back to the diamond-paved ground beneath your feet. As you continue to live in this state of deep sensory presence, as you become more and more at home in the miracle of the ordinary moment, a final, profound boundary begins to dissolve. It is the boundary between you, the observer, and the world that is being observed. The boundary between you and the miracle. You begin to realize that you are not just witnessing the miracle of life. You are the miracle of life. The single, separate drop of awareness that you thought you were begins to feel its own wetness, its own fluidity, and it begins to remember its true and boundless nature as the infinite ocean. As you continue to rest in the miracle of the ordinary moment, as you become more and more at home in the simple sensory reality of the now, a final and most profound boundary begins to dissolve. It is the most fundamental boundary of all, the one upon which the entire illusion of the separate self is built, the boundary between you, the observer, and the life that is being observed. For your entire life, you have experienced reality as a subject and an object. There was I, the subject, the thinker, the feeler, living inside this body. And there was the world, the object, the collection of trees, buildings, stars, and other people that existed out there, separate from you. This deep-seated sense of being an isolated I, living in a world, has been the unquestioned foundation of your entire existence. But now, in the quiet, spacious awareness you have cultivated, even this foundation begins to tremble and melt away. The feeling of being a small, separate self, a single, lonely drop of water, gives way to a new, vaster, and infinitely more peaceful realization. You began this journey by realizing you are not your thoughts, but the observer of your thoughts. This was the first great step of disidentification, but now you go deeper. You begin to ask, what is the nature of this observer, this silent witness? And you realize that the awareness that is looking out through your eyes is the very same awareness that is looking back at you from the eyes of another person. The consciousness that perceives the tree is the same consciousness that is animating the tree with its own silent green life. The distinction between the seer and the seen, the knower and the known, collapses. You are not just in the universe, you are the universe, experiencing itself from a particular point of view for a little while. The drop of water begins to feel its own wetness, its own fluidity, and it begins to remember its true and boundless nature as the infinite ocean. Let us use a final metaphor to illuminate this ultimate homecoming. Imagine you are a single wave on the surface of a vast, limitless ocean. As a wave, you have a unique and temporary identity. You have a form. You have a beginning as you swell up from the deep. You have a middle as you travel across the surface. And you have an end as you approach the shoreline. From the perspective of the wave, your entire existence is this brief journey. You can look around and see other waves, and you can compare yourself to them. I am bigger than that wave, smaller than that one. I am moving faster than that one, slower than that one. From this limited perspective, the shoreline is a terrifying prospect. It represents the end of your existence, the dissolution of your form, your death. The wave might spend its entire journey in a state of anxiety, fearing the inevitable moment it will crash upon the sand and be no more. This is the perspective of the separate self, the ego. It sees its form, its story, its identity as all there is, and it fears the dissolution of that form above all else. But what actually happens when the wave reaches the shore? Does it die? Number. Its temporary form dissolves, yes, but its essential substance, the water, simply merges back into the great ocean from which it was never truly separate in the first place. The wave realizes, in that final, complete moment of surrender, that it was never just a wave. It was, and always has been, the entire ocean, choosing to express itself for a brief time as that unique and beautiful form. Its death is its homecoming. Its end is its return to its own boundless, eternal, and indestructible nature. You are not the wave. You are the ocean. Your personality, your body, your name, your personal history that is your wave form. It is a beautiful, precious, and unique expression of the whole, and it is meant to be honored and enjoyed for the short time it lasts. But it is not who you are. Your true nature, the very substance of your being, is the entire ocean of consciousness. The fear of letting go, the fear of ego death, the terror of dissolving your identity, that is the wave's fear of the shore. The profound peace of surrender is the wave's joyous recognition of its own limitless, oceanic nature. When this realization dawns, not just as an intellectual concept, but as a deep, felt sense of being, your entire experience of life is transformed. The characteristics of this oceanic consciousness begin to permeate your daily life. First, you experience a sense of boundlessness. The feeling of being a small, fragile consciousness trapped inside a skull begins to fade. You feel a deep, intrinsic connection to everything and everyone. The barrier between self and other becomes transparent. The joy of another person feels like your own joy. The suffering of another feels like your own suffering, not out of pity, but out of a recognition of shared being. This gives rise to a natural, effortless compassion. Second, you experience a profound fearlessness. What is there to fear when you are everything? The ego's primary fear is the fear of annihilation. But when you know yourself not as the temporary wave but as the eternal ocean, this fear loses its grip. You can face life's challenges, its gains and its losses, with a new equanimity, knowing that your essential being cannot be threatened. You can engage with life fully, love deeply, and risk greatly, because you are no longer playing for survival. You are playing for the joy of the experience itself. Third, love ceases to be an emotion that you feel for something or someone, and it becomes the very substance of your being, the very water of the ocean itself. It is not a transactional emotion that you give in the hopes of getting something back. It is a constant, radiant state of being that flows from you without condition or agenda, simply because it is what you are. You love, not to get love, but because you are love. And finally, you come to rest in a deep, unshakable peace. This is the peace that passeth all understanding, because it is not dependent on circumstances. The surface of the ocean can be whipped into a frenzy by a great storm, with massive waves of emotion and challenging life events. But the depths of the ocean always remain profoundly still, silent, and at peace. When you know yourself as the ocean, you can experience the storms of life on the surface, but your core remains rooted in this deep, unshakable stillness. The great spiritual search is not, and has never been, a journey to a new destination. It is the journey of the wave, remembering that it is the ocean. It is a journey of subtraction, not addition. It is about unlearning the false identity of the separate self. You were never apart from the peace, the love, and the wholeness you were seeking. You were only ever dreaming that you were separate. You began this journey as a frantic dam builder, living in resistance, trying to control a river. You learned to let go, to become a navigator, and then a dancer, flowing with the current. You discovered the sacred miracle shimmering in every ordinary drop of its water. And now, at the end of this journey, you realize the final truth. You are not just in the river. You are the river. You are not just a part of the ocean. You are the entire, infinite ocean, expressing itself for just a little while as a beautiful, perfect, and temporary wave. And to know this, to truly know this in the very core of your being, is the end of all seeking. It is the beginning of true life. It is the ultimate peace. And so, we arrive not at an end, but at a new beginning. A beginning rooted in the profound and simple truth you have discovered within the quiet sanctuary of your own being, that your greatest power has never been found in holding on, but in the supreme grace of letting go. The journey you have taken has been one of subtraction, not addition. You have not gained a new set of rules, but have unlearned a lifetime of resistance. You have dismantled the dam of fear, stone by stone, and allowed the river of your own life to flow freely. You have remembered that you are not the anxious puppeteer, but the serene awareness in which the play unfolds. You are not the fleeting cloud, but the eternal, spacious sky. You are not the temporary wave, but the entire, infinite ocean. As you integrate this knowing and return to the dance of your daily life, do not feel that you must carry all of these concepts in your mind. That would be just another burden. Instead, let it all be distilled into a single, simple image. An image you can return to in any moment of stress, confusion, or fear. It is the image of your own two hands, resting softly in your lap, palms open to the sky. In this simple, sacred posture lies the entirety of the wisdom you have explored. Remember the clenched fist of the controller, tight with the effort of holding on, filled with the sharp pebbles of fear, worry, and resentment. Feel, just for a moment, the familiar tension of that state, the striving, the resistance, the exhaustion. Then, remember the courage it took to slowly, consciously, unclench those fingers. The profound act of surrender as you chose to let the pebbles of your past and your future fall away, trusting that you did not need them to be safe. And now, rest in the feeling of the open palm. This is your new home. This is the physical expression of allowance. An open hand cannot grasp or control, but it can feel, it can connect, it can give, and most importantly, it can receive. This is the posture of trust. This is the stance of the dancer, ready and willing to accept the lead. This is the quiet declaration to the universe. I am here. I am open. Let this be the mantra that hums quietly in the background of your days, a gentle reminder that can bring you back to this state of peace at any time. When you feel the old habits of control begin to tighten their grip, silently, lovingly, repeat these words to yourself. I release. I trust. I allow. Breathe into these words. Let them be more than just concepts. I release my need to know, my need to manage, my need to force. I release the past that is gone and the future that is yet to be born. I trust. the intelligence of the unfolding moment. I trust the wisdom of my body. I trust the guidance of the universe. I trust that I am supported, always. I allow peace to be my natural state. I allow love to flow through me. I allow the miracles, both small and large, to find me with ease and grace. There is nothing more you need to do, nothing you need to figure out. The river knows its way to the ocean. The dance knows its own rhythm. Your only work is to remain open, to breathe, to remember who you truly are. Let this peace be your guide. Let this stillness be your home. Go now and live, not by force, but by the quiet, unshakable power of your own surrendered heart.